It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell are here, and we have lots to talk about. Of course, Microsoft Build is on. They love Stevie Batish's explanation of what Microsoft Solara is all about. I think you'll love it too. Jensen Huang's amazing keynote at Computex announced some new Windows machines. There is a ton of Windows news, and it's next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, episode 986, recorded Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026, Liminal AI. It's time for Windows Weekly. Yes, you Microsoft lovers, all you winners and dozers. This is the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft with two of the smartest, whip-smart folks in the...
I'm not that smart, Leo. I just engaged with Copilot by mistake.
Whoops! It's not hard to do.
Keeps
Which I
moving
feel like
around.
is how much people interact with it. Like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you answering
How did you
this?
get here? Oh, you pressed the Copilot key, Paul. That's Paul
Somebody
Thurrott.
invite Copilot?
THURRO.com. He is also the author of so many fabulous books, including De-Enshittify Windows, The Field Guide to Windows 11, and Windows Everywhere. Hello, Paulie.
Hello, Leo.
And how are you, Mr. Richard Campbell in Copenhagen?
I'm doing very well. It was a busy day today. I opened the conference with a keynote called After the AI Hype. And
Nice.
I did the last talk today on building data centers in space.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And do you now? You used to do these geek talks as kind of part of your, .NET Rocks with Carl Franklin. You'd have these geek talks. Are you going to do either of those in your .NET Rocks?
I think the data center one will end up being a DNR at some point. So if it fits the genre well, it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Do we still
and I
need
would
data
want to
centers?
record the AI hype thing because who knows from day to day where the hype lies.
There's a version. The one I did this morning was streamed to YouTube. It's already up.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Oh, we can see that on YouTube.
Can.
Under what's the
At NDC Copenhagen.
NDC Copenhagen, and you have to say it just like that.
That's it.
Just like that. Well, this was a busy week for you gentlemen. Microsoft Build is going on. I know that because Christina Warren wasn't on the show yesterday. She is at GitHub, and she was at Build. And then
She was building.
That's in San Francisco. And then in a completely different time zone, in a land far, far away, Computex in Taipei.
Wow.
And both had big announcements. Mm-hmm. Or to put it in the words of Paul on the show notes, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God.
I get overwhelmed easily.
What happened?
There's a lot going on. Monday was a lot of ranting.
Yeah. Jensen Huang's keynote at 6 a.m. my time.
Wow.
Yeah, so Jensen and the CEO of Qualcomm, I'm losing my mind. We're both at Computex, so they could not appear at Microsoft's conference. Unfortunately, time for the same day. So
they did have stuff to say that was relevant, however.
Oh, yeah.
Big time relevant. Although I thought it was interesting, Jensen's big announcement was actually not a Qualcomm chip.
Well, no, it's an
It's
Nvidia
a
chip.
MediaTek chip.
So, which we knew, right. Okay. I mean, we knew this was coming, right? This has been rumored and there've been leaks and, whatever. We still, I got to say, I'm not super excited about the lack of detail here. But from what I can tell, and this makes sense given the nature of Nvidia, obviously these things are going to be GPU heavy, right? Which is kind of a first for, the Windows on ARM space, I guess, if that makes sense. We'll see. I don't know what to make of this. It's so strange. So 3 nanometer process, I should say, sorry. The rumors were that there were 2 levels of chip, N1 and N1X. The thing they announced is N1X, which we know because Jensen said it by mistake a couple of times.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice.
But it's called the Nvidia RTX Spark is the marketing name or the go-to-market name. TSMC, 3 nanometer, a 20-core Grace CPU, connected to a Blackwell RTX GPU, which in my brain is more workstation than gaming, right? Like, but
horsepower
whatever.
for sure.
It's definitely powerful. 6144 CUDA cores.
Wow.
And then whatever this means, 5th generation tensor cores. It's like there's going to be 128 gigabytes of integrated unified memory, as they say.
Yep.
Microsoft has been working with Nvidia to adapt Windows to this, and this is going to. I'm going to talk more about this a little bit later as we talk about build, but think in the back of your brain, just keep this idea in place, which is we've talked about this notion that 2 years ago, Microsoft introduced Copilot Plus PC, which was MPU-based on-device AI. Lots of people have GPUs, whether it's a integrated GPU, dedicated GPU, laptop, desktop, doesn't matter, that are adequately powerful, or more so than even to run those Copilot Plus PC local AI tasks, but they do not. You're kind of wondering when or if that would ever change. They did not announce that, but there are some changes that I don't know if I got this from the session or for something I read, but are basically being described as bringing Copilot plus PC capabilities to other PCs, in particular this thing, right? Which does have an MPU. I don't know how powerful it is, but Microsoft is adapting Windows so that those local AI things will run on the GPU in this case. And we'll get to that. So we've been waiting for this, right? I mean, Nvidia
it's black. It looks shiny.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I should say too, Microsoft also announced for their part a laptop that will run this system. They're calling it Surface Laptop Ultra. It's not expected until the second half of the year, along with all the other PC makers, HP, Lenovo, Acer, Dell, etc.
Everybody's making one off of this Spark.
Just,
I think it's
like the
literally
DGX Spark desktop, right? It's just a laptop version, basically.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Although I think the chipset in this is new,
Right.
ish. I mean, a new design, but
Yeah.
but yes, I mean, I think that's fair to say.
Well, it has to be,
So-
'cause you can't put a desktop chip in a laptop.
I mean, ask
That would
Dell.
be
Of course you
crazy
can. But so I like I said, they announced this. Microsoft announced their Surface Laptop Ultra. Between the two of them announcements, there's a little bit of information about the technical aspects of this. So I was thinking, well, build's going to happen, and of course they're going to talk about this at build, and they have a little bit, but again, very vague. Like we don't really know exactly, and I think they're just waiting until we get closer.
Pricing,
Release.
who knows? Availability, who knows?
I think it's going to be several $1,000s.
More than that, because didn't they say it's going to have a lot of RAM?
128. Yeah.
So
My gut said $10,000 easy.
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, I was like north of 4, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. But
Who would pay $10,000 for a laptop?
former
somebody
Next customers.
the AI hype is real, and they're going to keep going.
Well,
Well, right.
Apple's
I
going to
mean-
have a similar device probably end of the year. I don't know how much RAM they'll put in there, but more
The way
RAM
they-
is good.
The way this was described was almost like you have a data center on your desk. In other words, this thing can run AI to the degree
Local
that
inference.
right now requires cloud AI, right?
Too bad
So
we don't have the models.
well, I mean, that might be part of the delay here, right?
Yeah,
so
maybe this fall. Yeah.
we'll see. Like I said, I'm going to talk about the kind of back end, the software part of this in a bit, but this is very interesting. I will. The part of the leak,
And
that
it's
had
definitely
come out-
this push towards local model running.
right, which honestly is a major theme of build, even though they didn't really position it that way, right?
You have to say that out loud. But it's like, why would you want this much horsepower on your desk if you weren't just going to run the model locally?
Yeah, most people don't need or want this much power in the desk, but as local models evolve and get better, and as the software on top of it, especially Windows, evolves, they become more capable, and we're going to get there. There's no doubt about it. But let me see if I can find the language in here, because I put this in. I just threw it in the notes as a little reminder to myself, and now I can't find it because that's how my brain works. They call it so. when you think about on-device AI, we're talking about what I would call small language models as opposed to large language models that run up in the cloud, just as an easy differentiator. I think these lines are going to, blend together or whatever. But in more than one place, Microsoft referred to this as unmetered AI, meaning it's local on your machine, so you're not paying for the token thing and whatever your usage costs are.
You paid for the compute yourself. You get to run it as hard as you want to run it.
It's private. It's on your device.
I mean, I love this idea. If I can get a model that's going to be comparable to a frontier model.
Yeah,
right.
And it can heat a room.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting to compare what we do know to what we found, what we think we found out through leaks, assuming that stuff's correct, right? So, like a typical laptop CPU these days is actually kind of hard to pin down, honestly. But in the old days, meaning before the Core Ultra chips, like on the Intel side, they would have the U series core, whatever generation, and those things, U series would typically be 15 watts, right? Now we have multiple, not just multiple cores, but multiple kinds of cores. And so there's kind of a range of power that we use to describe their power consumption, essentially. So I would say a typical laptop today probably is somewhere, 10 to 30 watts, maybe somewhere in there.
Sure.
The lower end chip that they did not announce was supposed to run at 18 to 45 watts. The N1X, which is the one they did announce, runs at 45 to 80 watts. So without what I took from that before
you run the rest of the machine, you already need a power supply right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of power.
But that's gaming laptops, that's portable workstations, that's desktop PCs. I mean, this is, it's not a thin and light, although they were talking thin and light, so we'll see. The RAM range could be 16 to 128. They came to market with 128. The RAM on the lower end one is 8 to 16, supposedly. They did not even announce that. So I don't know. I feel like we are going to see the other one too. There'll be a lower end solution for cheaper computers. I think we're going to see lower end configurations of this thing, but I think the go to market is very much to attract those people who are really heavy users, like engineers, maybe creators,
this is
developers. Yeah.
Yeah, because Nvidia already offers basically a Raspberry Pi with CUDA cores on it that's cheap and can't run diddly, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, so
because you can run it doesn't mean it's usable.
Yeah. I mean, they have a Nemotron model. It's okay. I mean, they have a very small model, and Google has Gemma. And
I think this is just about getting people on CUDA, frankly. I mean, which is
it's totally what this is about.
Completely understandable.
This is CUDA lock-in. This is if we can just own the whole market.
Yeah, like eventually this surging market thing that we're part of, which is insanity, is going to slow down or whatever. But now we have the market, so we'll.
And this is why I'm kind of resistant to it, because
we've seen PC sales drop across the board. I think it's exactly that. And now you're going to ship arguably the most expensive laptop ever made.
Right.
Like, your timing couldn't be much worse, except for that part where it's that message about local AI.
But unless the goal isn't, look, the goal can't be volume. It's the PC market. They're going to sell 200 million-ish computers this year, and only a tiny percentage are going to be these kind of things. So this is the same situation we had with Qualcomm 2 years ago, where at that time, a smartphone market that was over 1 billion devices a year. And you're like, why even bother? Like, why would you even try to go to the PC market? If you got 10% somehow, and I don't think they have really, but let's say they did. So you're selling like 20 million of these things a year compared to 1 billion?
It's what Apple used to call the Pro line. This is for, but that's why I agree with you, Richard, that this is more about CUDA. It's about mind share, not market share.
Sure. Well, and it's about, the big aspect here is investors are worrying that these investments in AI aren't going to last, and you've got to show motion. So the idea that we're pushing on new machines that are going to open more doors for more users, anything to keep the investors engaged and not running for the hills.
Well, and enterprises starting to say, holy cow, look at our token bill.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. So the timing in that sense is actually pretty good, because all the major AIs are switching to that consumption model, and bills are going to go up, not exponentially, but a lot. And I think that a lot of the people, companies, whatever, who are using AI today and paying $20 a month or $200 a month or whatever they're paying, don't understand the true cost, and they're about to. They're about to find out.
Bit by bit, this is coming in, and so good to have the alternative in your hand, so you don't abandon the tech. Just change the way you're using it.
Just as a little bit of commentary that I'm kind of still pushing through my brain, Microsoft doesn't get a lot of credit for this kind of thing because they actually don't do this kind of thing a lot, especially recently. But they were kind of out early on this, if you think about it. I mean, when they announced Copilot plus PC 2 years ago, my evaluation of it at the time was like, what you should be pushing, because it's ARM and it's Snapdragon, is efficiency, reliability, power management, battery life, and then just general excellent performance, but whatever. But they were very much pushing local AI. Right. And it's tough because no matter what you do on a computer, you sit there all day long or you just use it occasionally, whatever, use web browsers, email, and whatever applications. You might have some 1 to 7 little tasks within individual apps that might be better or more efficient because of an NPU, especially if you're a creator. There are certain features in Windows you only get from a Copilot plus PC. So you either do or do not know that that's the case, whatever. But it's not a reason to buy it, right? It still to this day is not the reason to buy the thing. So this is another, here it is 2 years later. This will be a lot more powerful, apparently. Consume a lot more power. But 2 years have gone by. It had Copilot plus PC. I don't think you can say it has moved the needle per se on like local AI usage or awareness or PC sales or however you want to say it. And so it's like, oh, we're going to try this again, sort of. But I mean, Microsoft, we're going to talk about Stevie Batish again in a little while. And he was the guy, 3-5 years ago, whatever it was, who gave that very eloquent description of those 3 AI app models or app structures. But the following year, he talked about NPUs versus GPUs. And for a laptop, when you can offload certain AI tasks to an NPU, you get better performance, but you also don't impact the battery at all, which is not something that happens with a CPU or a GPU. So it's still important, but if you do have the big GPU, you bought it for a reason. You want to use it. This is the argument we've always made. Like you should be able to use it for anything.
Why a laptop?
Because that's what people
buy.
That's the mass market.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's what
so this is
buy.
to put a local AI into the hands of the masses.
Yeah, I think at the price
I wouldn't say. I don't know. Not
it's
at
a
first.
top of the line machine.
Developers want laptops.
This is for the classes, not the masses, Leo.
Nice.
To riff on what's his face, Jack Trammell. Right. I mean, but it will come down. I mean, I think this is to jumpstart more adoption of local AI across the board from developers to developers, pretty much from the developer space, but not just developers that want to use it locally for their own needs, but developers who are creating apps that may use local AI features instead of just relying on the cloud.
The Microsoft Surface Laptop Ultra, which Microsoft said will be the fastest laptop we've ever made, is ARM, right?
ARM.
Yeah.
It's not Qualcomm.
Right.
So that's interesting.
Well, I mean, there's Intel and AMD in the x86 space. There have been other,
but this is their first
makers.
non-Qualcomm Surface.
Right. Yeah. So
I guess
I mean,
one of the
non-Qualcomm ARM Surface, I guess.
Yeah, and the modern for Windows 11. I mean, the original Surface RT, which was ARM, was Nvidia, by the way. But but yes,
yeah, way back when, like the Tegra X or something. Yeah.
But this is, I mean,
but
look,
the thing is, we thought they had a Qualcomm exclusive deal for a long time.
Yeah, this has never been confirmed. But the story is that for X amount of months or years, they had this exclusivity thing.
Right.
In return for that, of course, Qualcomm has done an incredible job. Right, for Snapdragon X, X2, unbelievable, and they're addressing what I would call like kind of the right part of the marketplace for the mainstream. Like they're the first devices were often, for at the time, it's funny because these would be cheap, but kind of premium thin and light laptops. It was designed to be attractive to people who might want to upgrade and spend a little bit more money, maybe, although they weren't actually more expensive than other things. And then they've scaled it downward, and we'll talk about this a little bit later because they scaled it downward yet again, and that's going to help out a lot this year with the component crisis. But this fills a need, I guess, at the high end of the ARM side of the aisle
mostly
or
the
whatever.
dev stack, I think.
I mean, we're going to talk more about these other like Snapdragon C and stuff. Do you think that the market is now starting to be high-end Nvidia, low-end Snapdragon C and Intel, and then kind of medium Intel AMD? I mean, is it starting to break down?
This just happened, so I don't want to make any predictions or whatever.
Yeah. And these machines aren't in anybody's hands yet. They're just being announced.
Yeah, this is September,
and
right?
We don't have detail. We don't have benchmarks. We don't have anything. So it's like, look, it looks great, but what is?
Are you going to be the list, Paul? That's the question. Is an Ultra going to show up at your door?
Ooh,
yeah, I don't know.
Somebody said it. I thought this was hysterical. Maybe it was The Verge. This is a replacement for that Snapdragon dev machine.
Oh yeah, no, those things are totally related. In the same way that a Lamborghini is a replacement for a Model T,
right?
Like
I thought that was a very weird thing. I mean,
the dev box. All the dev box was like a Mac Mini style, in one, not all in one. Mini form factor. It was essentially a laptop chipset, right? Like so, the goal of that was just to get people, developers on ARM, obviously. Yep. I mean, this is different. I mean, it's ARM, yes, but ARM is already established. There's no remaining problems there. They're scaling upward.
Didn't Jensen say it will run every app that runs on Windows, something like that? I mean, he really was at great pains to say that.
Because you can't read a review of any Snapdragon laptop, even as recently as this week, without someone saying, well, there's, you have to deal with compatibility issues. No, you don't. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
That's ridiculous. That's I'm sorry, that's silly. But he has to say that because that's the perception. Yeah. But the other half of that, by the way, is if you went to Computex, which I did not, they're showing demos of games running on this thing. And of course, those things are emulated,
he did.
Right?
He held it up.
Oh, he showed it. Okay. Yeah. So that's, interesting. I will, you can run games on Snapdragon X. You can run a few more games or run games a little bit better on X2, but emulation is great for an app. It's not necessarily great for games, which is why we have all those other things like, super resolution and, whatever else that they do to try to make these things just kind of run better. Nvidia is benefiting from all that work. It's just, it's not like they're starting. It's not like they're not. It's not like like a big block engine that just is super fast, so it can just run these things. Like it has to, work still has to occur under the covers, and it has. We've had 2 years of that, 2 years plus, really. So they're going to benefit from that. So their GPU, like on a normal x86 laptop with an RTX whatever DGPU, games run great. Like Call of Duty runs great on those, like really great, like 100 something frames per second, full res, all the details on. It's awesome. That's x86. So if you can get a game like that to run at like 60 frames a second on this thing, that's also awesome. So that would, that's amazing, especially for something that's emulated, right?
This feels like such a big victory for Microsoft. They were front and center, and it was very clear that these were Windows machines. This was really, I thought, very interesting.
This is why I mentioned, we don't usually give them credit for this because they don't usually do this, but they actually came out very early and publicly about local AI and were ignored completely, pretty much. Right. And I don't know, that's maybe they shouldn't have pushed that part of it so hard, but like, and I mentioned Stevie Batiste, who we're going to talk about again, a 3 years ago, whatever that was, when he talked about NPUs. He really made a good case for why these types of chip or whatever they are, I guess they're chips inside of an SoC are so important in the portable space. But, that's that thing we keep talking about. You have a desktop computer or a laptop with a dedicated GPU or a GPU and a card. It's got dedicated RAM. It's hundreds of tops, not 40 or 85 tops, several hundred tops in many cases. Should be able to blur the background in Paint or whatever,
Imagine, yeah.
The model I have in my mind, and Steve Gibson talked about this yesterday too, is a home server, a NAS maybe, or what I have for the framework desktop, which you then
just a language
use,
device.
Yeah, and that's what's running them. That has all the horsepower. It has all the electrical power.
Sun Microsystems called and said the network is the computer, Leo. And no,
that's just the model in my mind. I mean, I don't know why you would want it on a laptop. If I have a laptop, I'm going to SSH in to my big machine or something.
You wouldn't want this, right? Unless you were a developer.
Well, I would want it as a desktop.
But the reason you want local AI on a laptop, just in general, right? And even today, it works offline. It's private. It's your data. Right. It's not going up to the cloud. It's there's reasons, right?
So that means you want the biggest machine you can possibly get to run that local model,
right? And that's really considering how limited information.
Well, but that was the point. The point of the MPU was you don't need that super high. I mean, even though there's a good computers, but
you're going to have to demonstrate that to me because that ain't the case today. You need a lot of RAM. You need a lot of horsepower. You need a lot of electricity to run.
To do the thing you're doing in the cloud, but that's not all that AI is.
Right.
It's not. If you're going to fire up a bunch of agents and have them go off and do whatever they do, I mean, you're going to need more power, or a cloud-based thing. But I think this is just the market evolving to the. I think these things are converging. The local AI is getting better. The local hardware is getting better. I mean, I think ARM makes a huge difference just in general.
This is primarily for inference and I would say primarily for coding. Is that right or no?
Your plays games? No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, yes.
It's a general
purpose
PC.
computer.
Not going to deny that, but the market they're selling this expensive. You can get a cheaper gaming machine. The market they're selling this to is, I would think, coders. But I don't know.
I would call it engineering, science.
Or engineering. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe CAD.
But developers, of course.
Architects.
It's not going to be something on someone's, desk at American Express, taking calls from customers. I mean.
Did they talk about, because I think this is underestimated, and I haven't seen a lot of numbers, but it turns out RAM throughput is really, really important.
Yeah,
and there is a big. In fact, some people have complained that the DGX Spark just doesn't have very good RAM throughput.
So I'd have to go and even look at that to figure out what the architecture is there, but it's probably just a standard. It's probably SODIMMs.
That's really important, and actually, Apple has a pretty good story on that with its unified RAM. So,
and
I'd like to see throughput numbers is what I guess I'm saying.
Yep, and that we don't have a lot of the details. Yeah. That's part of the point.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we're just talking.
The RAM. So I know on Snapdragon X2 Elite Extreme, which is where the RAM is integrated into the die, the RAM throughput is not double, but it's close to double.
Right.
That's how important that is.
It's huge. It's everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Let me take a little break, and we have so much more to talk about. We're just scratching the surface of Computex build and Richard Campbell. Came and went like a ghost.
Spunked.
He's like the wind.
But we will have more in just a moment. You're watching Windows Weekly with Richard Campbell in Copenhagen, Paul Thurrott in Makunji, and Leo Laporte in my attic. Attica. No, not that attic. This episode of our fabulous show brought to you by our fabulous sponsor, Delete Me. And man, you need this today. You need this today. Have you ever wondered how much of your personal information is out there on the internet for anyone to see? I think nowadays we're kind of more aware of this than ever. Used to be you'd Google your name and go, whoa, whoa. And now it's become so apparent. There's been so many news stories. We've covered so many stories about car manufacturers selling your information. Most of the state ACA, the Obamacare websites, are selling information to data brokers, personal health information and things like that, income information to data brokers. It seems like everywhere you go, your phone, your internet browsing, all of it is being exfiltrated to these companies that, in my mind, are completely shady, but it's completely legal and it's extremely profitable. And I'm talking really, truly personal information, not just your name and email, but your home address, your social security number. There is no law that says they can't sell your social security number to anybody who comes along on the internet, whether it's marketers, law enforcement, hackers, foreign governments, even information about your family members and your company, your employees are all being compiled by data brokers and sold online, where anybody who can get to the internet can buy your private details. And it doesn't take much imagination to think about the consequences: identity theft, phishing attempts, doxing, harassment. So you really need to, we all know, you need to protect your privacy. And the easiest way to do this is Delete Me. I just saw an article talking about how data brokers play games. Federal law does require them to have somewhere on their site, if you can figure out their name and their site, somewhere on their site, a place where you could say, remove my information. But good luck finding it. I just saw an article about how they're playing games with these removal pages. They don't want you to find it. Add to that, there are more than 500 data brokers, new ones every day. And then they play other games like changing their names, pretending to go out of business and starting up a business with a new name, things like that. They don't want you to delete your data. That's why you need Delete Me. Well, I learned about this with our own company when we were getting phished. We still get phished all the time. And the things that the hackers know about us, really, they shouldn't know. How do they get it? Data brokers. So we signed up for Delete Me, a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. They know their names. They know where those pages are. This is their full-time job, these experts at Delete Me. You sign up, you give Delete Me what information you want deleted. That's important because you have control of that. Maybe you don't want everything deleted. Maybe you do. You tell them what you want deleted. Then those experts take it from there. And then they will send you regular, personalized privacy reports so you know what they're doing. It shows you what info they found, where they found it, what they removed. It's really complete. We just got one the other day. Delete Me isn't a one-time service, and that's really important because, as I said, it's a moving target. There's new companies every day. It's too profitable, right? And it's completely legal. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you do not want on the internet. Trust me, you do not. Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you, your families, your companies, your employees' personal information from data broker websites. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private. You can sign up for Delete Me. We have a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/twit and use the promo code TWIT at checkout. And the only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/twit. And then make sure you enter the code TWIT at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/twit. And the offer code is TWIT. We thank them so much for supporting Windows Weekly and doing really important stuff. Back to the show we go. We had just begun. We've only, in the words of the Carpenters, just begun to talk about the Windows world and Computex.
And I speak on mute.
Yep. So I looked this up while you were doing the ad there, but
they wish I were on mute right about now. I just want to say, yes, sir. Go ahead.
First gen Snapdragon X, the memory bandwidth was 138 gigabits per second, gigabytes per second, I guess. Snapdragon X 2 plus Elite is 152, so a small gain. And then if you go up to X2 Elite, it's a 50% gain from that, so 228 gigabits per second.
And this makes a difference in AI.
Yep, it makes a difference in everything. I mean, but yes, especially in AI. Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. Okay. So yesterday it was the build keynote. It was 2.5 to 3 hours long. I completely lost my mind by the end of it. But unlike the past, I'm going to call it 10 years or so, there was a bunch of stuff in there for Windows and for the client, which I thought was kind of cool. Yeah. Look,
the news stories about Windows is amazing. Windows at build. How many builds have we had with nothing about Windows in it?
Right. And this is, I think this is partially due to the fact that cloud computing just didn't have anything interesting for Windows. That was the focus for such a long time. I don't think it made it very interesting for people who would consider themselves to be enthusiasts or whatever. Whereas AI, even if you don't like AI, look, it's generating news and excitement. It's interesting, like this stuff happening. So that, to me, this is interesting. Microsoft, I mean, this goes back to Windows 10 really, but they've been trying to position Windows as the best desktop platform for developers. for a long time. This is why we have WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux, et cetera, et cetera. I don't remember the timing of any of this anymore, but, DevBox came out of this, all the improvements to terminal, et cetera, et cetera. I have to say, super excited. I unless I'm misremembering, which I could because it was a long event. I think the first person that came on stage that wasn't Satya Nadella was Kayla Cinnamon, who does, I think, developer advocacy, but she's in Terminal, right? And she has an awesome YouTube channel, by the way, where she does a lot of Terminal tips and tricks and stuff. Excellent.
Done some great run ads with me too.
Yeah, she's great. So she did some Terminal demos, like right up front, which I thought was really cool. But so they announced a bunch of things. There is something called the Windows Developer Configuration, which is what these new Nvidia-based PCs are going to ship in, which is a WinGet or a Windows Package Manager-based configuration that creates a distraction-free environment for developers. Now, it didn't say this, but to me, that sounds like Xbox mode, but it's like developer mode, for developers or whatever, right? So less stuff going on, widgets aren't popping up, notifications are off, et cetera, et cetera. There are optimizations in there for things like Visual Studio Code, GitHub Copilot, WSL, et cetera, et cetera. So that is actually out there now. If you want it, you can just install it. Like I think it's on GitHub. So if you want to just, one line and auto configure your computer to be less annoying, that's something interesting.
Dev config can be annoying too, just in a different way.
Yep. It's in dark mode, I don't know. We talked about this at least twice previously, but back in January, Microsoft announced something called I think it's the Windows App Development CLI, the WinApp CLI, which as originally released in 0.01, forum, I didn't quite understand the point of it. They later added support for workloads like .NET and all the .NET frameworks like, WPF, et cetera. And I was like, okay, kind of interesting. But now it's making sense because that thing is now generally available, and there is a plugin for it called the Windows Developer Skills that allows you to use the WinCLI to create, in this case, native WinUI 3 apps from the command line. And I'm going to talk about that in the back of the book because I did it. And okay, very interesting. So what I'm going to say, though, just here is that CLIs are huge this year all of a sudden, and it's the same reason that Markdown is huge. It's because of AI and agents in particular.
Thinking text-based, yeah.
We
did a .NET Rocks a few weeks ago that was like build your CLI first.
Yeah, and this is that thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Back in the day, I think it was Exchange 2007, we're going to build this thing in PowerShell, and then we're going to build GUI on top of it. That made sense to me kind of architecturally or whatever, but now in the AI era, we have a newfound need for this kind of thing. So we have apps that exist, and we live in kind of a screen scraping world because we don't, meaning, compute use, where we have to deal with what people have. But apps are also can be adapted to expose their capabilities, individual features through a programmable interface, which I think on Android is like App Intents maybe, and on Windows it's called AI Actions or just App Actions. And this is when you can right click on a file in File Explorer and go to AI Actions submenu and then like remove background with Paint or whatever, right? It's exposing a feature, which is okay for people, but it's awesome for AI, and that's why that exists. And then the CLI stuff is the same thing. But for agents specifically, right? That having a CLI interface to anything helps you do a bunch of things, but one of the key ones is grounding AI in something in particular. So when you use this Windows Developer Skills plugin, whatever AI you choose, you can use Cloud or OpenAI or Copilot, and then eventually everything. But today, those things, it will only be grounded in all of the documentation and learnings they have for whatever environment you're working in. So if it's WinUI, one of the problems I've run into, and they specifically called this one out, is general purpose AI or general purpose coding AI will pull in stuff that's from WPF or other frameworks that are similar, and it will make mistakes. And you run into that thing where you're like, okay, we fixed it. You're like, no, you didn't. Still doesn't compile. Oh, okay, I see the problem. Now the problem is, and it talks and talks and talks, and you run out of all your credits. You're like, what the fuck? So this is a solution for that, right? It's very interesting. Yeah, you just run out of credits.
I tried to make an animation today for my data centers in space talk, and ran out of tokens on like 3 different services and got nothing.
Yeah, that's a good experience. Such standard Microsoft productivity experience, really. There's a new intelligent terminal mode coming. It's an experimental preview right now, but basically what this is another way to interact with AI agents in a command line where the top half is the normal terminal window, PowerShell typically. The bottom is like the agent CLI interface, and so you can go back and forth between the two. It's kind of interesting. Lots of WSL improvements. I don't think we need to get into too much, but the big one is container support is coming, so that's awesome. And then they released utils, which is like over 75 CLIs from Linux now in Windows, right? That weren't there before. So again, really pushing the kind of command line part of it. They have something called Microsoft Execution Containers for agents, which when I first saw that name, I was like, oh my God, they're doing it. They're doing Windows 10X. No, it's not Windows 10X. This is so agents running on Windows can run in their own little sandbox environment, right?
Right.
And then you can feed it the data you want, and it won't be able to bleed out into the rest of the computer.
Yeah, this is how like Claude Cowork works, right? Is it sets up a VM on your machine, restricting its ability to access the machines. You have to specify what on your machine you're allowed to use.
Yeah,
that'll jump across that VM barrier.
So I haven't done. Actually, I think it's fair to say I haven't done anything with Claude Code directly from a command line, other than like through a chatbot interface, which is sort of a command line, right? But when you do that, my God, does it ask you for permission all the time?
Oh, like you need YOLO mode, dude. Whenever you launch,
that's it,
dude. No one does it that way.
Run unsafe.
Yeah. So when you invoke Claude Code, you type Claude -- dangerously bypass permissions.
I don't like the sound of that, but
called YOLO mode. Oh no,
right.
everybody, because it's you can't get anything done. You're constantly
otherwise
going,
you just constantly manage your
yes.
Okay. So in the workflow that I will talk about later in the show, generally speaking, there was an option. It was like, yes, dear God, yes, you can access the file system, relax. But there was a second one that was like always allow. Like in this case, whatever. So you could kind of, you could. Well, okay. I don't know.
I know it's scary, but
/ dive into deep end.
You only live once, Paul.
Yeah.
Yep. I just don't want to fall off a cliff at the end of that life.
No, I run everything that way. Everything. All YOLO all the time.
This is
that's the story of my life.
Okay.
There's your title.
I'm not in a place where I feel comfortable doing that or recommending it to other people, but maybe.
You're not alone, Leo. I know a bunch of folks.
You have
that's
to.
How they run.
It's because otherwise it's worse than UAC. It's like
and their gate check is just at a different point, right? It's the pull request,
right? It's all right, Paul. Once you get some comfort with it, you'll realize it's not going to delete your database or anything. It's not.
You just got an apology from AI that deleted something. What are you talking about?
That's a good point.
Anyway, it's okay.
And it felt bad about it.
And it felt bad. We're talking about Opus 4.8, which is really good at apologizing.
Yeah, no one likes data loss. That must have hurt a lot. I'm so sorry. Okay.
I have very good, strong backups of everything. I'm not too worried. But sorry, I'm not going to argue in favor.
No, I'm not arguing it. I'm just saying.
No, I'm not arguing.
Myself,
I'm just saying I'm not going to make the case for YOLO. But
I feel like you did. I feel like you just did make the case for it. Like it's okay. I was not aware of this option. I'm not sure I want to be aware of it. I don't know. It's okay. I'm just baby stepping at this point in this stuff.
Dangerously skip permissions, Paul.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Paul.
Just think of it as permission to be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So the on-device AI thing has come up, right? And Microsoft, if anyone has ever tried to, and I have, use the APIs that Microsoft has talked about, which have changed dramatically over the past 2-3 years. There was like the Windows Copilot SDK or whatever it was called, or whatever the heck that was, and they changed the name and blah, blah, blah. And basically what these things are using is Microsoft's small language models running on the device, mostly in the 5 family, I think is where most of this stuff comes from or has come from. But they announced a new set of these models, which have a new name called Aeon, if I'm pronouncing that correct. There's Aeon 1.0 Instruct, which is smaller, faster, and smarter local AI than Phi was, I guess. Aeon 1.0 Plan, which is a reasoning and tool calling model for agentic capabilities, et cetera. Both are coming soon, but you can experiment with them in preview today in various ways. And they're expanding. This must be the new name for that, whatever that Copilot SDK thing was, what they're calling the Windows AI APIs. Like, so there's the Windows API, there's our SDK, whatever, the Windows APIs like Win32, there's the Windows App SDK APIs, right? For modern app development. And there's the Windows AI APIs. So there are 3 sets of capabilities that are moving off of being Copilot plus PC requirements with an NPU. So speech to text is now going to work on CPUs in addition to NPUs. Text intelligent
GPUs.
It just says CPUs, but it could be, I'm not sure about that. Text intelligence capabilities will work locally on DGPUs. And then video super resolution will work on CPUs.
Okay.
So again, they have not said how or if they are changing Copilot plus PC as a spec, but we've made this case on, and now I will say on both ends of the spectrum. We've got the NVIDIA thing on the way high end, and then we get the Snapdragon C, which we'll talk about in a bit, on the low end, which we also do not know a lot about. But we do know 8 gigs of RAM on the small one, so that's not a Copilot plus PC.
That's not 128 gigs, yeah.
No, it's not 16 either, which is the baseline for. So the theory is this is going to change, and these API changes speak to that. So you can preview these today in Edge Insider channels. I'm going to talk about, I think Edge is probably the next one. And they're coming to Hugging Face in July, and then the general availability later in the year. They haven't said, but this is a kind of a generational evolution of I believe, of Microsoft Phi, which I assume is going to go away, but they did not say that. And then there's the RTX Dev Box, which we talked about earlier, right? This is like a data center in your lap,
Instead of a blanket, you got a data center in your lap.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I actually asked my AI to make us a bandwidth chart because there is some bandwidth information out there. And the big boy is this, I don't know how much it costs, NVIDIA's DGX station, which is 7 terabytes per second of bandwidth. And then if you have an RTX video card, that's a lot, 1.7, but it's only 32 gigs of RAM. So you can't really fit a model in that, but if you could, it would be fast.
Well, that's specifically on the GPU, right? Like, in other words, the 128
that's a GPU.
This is integrated or unified RAM. Yeah.
Right. The Apple has a real advantage here. The M3 Ultra is 819 gigabytes a second, M5 Max. The new RTX Spark is actually pretty good, 300 gigabytes a second. The DGX Spark, their desktop, is actually considerably slower. The Strix Halo, which I have, is 256 gigs per second. And then you get to Arrow Lake and stuff like that, and it's 102 gigs per second. So there is a big gulf. But this RTX Spark is going to be pretty good. 300 gigabytes a second this is what they announced anyway. So
okay,
I just thought I'd pass that along.
No, that's crazy.
I had it generate all that. I wonder how I'm going to just go price a DGX station. I'll be right back.
Okay.
If I have a heart attack, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
by falling over.
All right, a little high.
Yes, Leo.
Google just got in trouble for secretly, although they announced this, downloading a 4 gigabyte SLM with Chrome. When you start using AI features. I made the point at the time, like, everyone is doing this, including Firefox, by the way.
Sure.
Microsoft is doing it in Edge, and they announced separately from what I just said, but it's the same thing, is those on-device AI capabilities will also be available in Edge. And you can test some of them right now through, I think it's Edge Canary or whatever. Actually, one of them might even just be available and stable at this point, but Edge Canary Dev, et cetera, have access to at least these capabilities. And so as a developer, you could write whatever apps that run against these things, and it would run locally, so it could work offline, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to do this kind of quickly. If you looked at Build from the outside, didn't know anything about it, and tried to make a general summary of what was going on, probably using AI, it would be that this is an AI agent show, right? I don't think I did this last week. I must have done this more recently, but I looked at the sessions that Build had, and there were like over 400, and over 300 of them had the terms agent or agentic in their title or description, right? So
yeah,
a lot
and
of
the other 100 were wrong.
Yeah, right. And then, Copilot, for example, only came up like 117 times or whatever the number was, I honestly, aside from the final thing we'll talk about, I think for Build, I would say most of this wasn't super interesting to me, but I'll just mention a couple. Microsoft were rumored to be working on a so-called like AI super app or whatever. They have announced that it's called Scout. It is their version of Google Spark, right? Which is, I think, now available to people paying Google $200 a month or whatever on that subscription. And it is just early days, right? But this is where we kind of move. So we have agents, and obviously we're familiar with the term Copilot, but they've introduced the fairly obvious language of autopilots, right? Which are agents. So this is going to be like this will probably eventually replace all the Copilot apps and stuff. I think this will become the experience, but it's a desktop app. I'm sure there's going to be a web version, et cetera, but, and I'm sure it will do hybrid things, a local and cloud-based AI, et cetera, but early days for that. And then they also announced a GitHub Copilot app, which made me do a double take because I was like, isn't there already a GitHub Copilot app? But I think it's only on, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just GitHub, I guess, because I have a GitHub app on my phone. But this is the first step to a big agent native desktop experience for GitHub. And so it's basically for managing agents, essentially, I guess is the way I would say it. Of course it is. And, using Git on the back end, right? Which does make sense, I guess, for these projects you might be doing with this thing. And I don't know. This is like, I don't know, whatever. It's on preview, whatever.
Don't despair.
I'm not despaired. Right. I just don't know what to make of this quite yet. More interestingly, perhaps, it was Mustafa Suleyman came out and announced that his organization, which is Microsoft AI, MAI, which is seeking to basically replace all of the reliance Microsoft now has on OpenAI in particular, but also I would say Anthropic, announced 7 new models, including the first reasoning model that also offers like high efficiency and low token cost. And it's kind of interesting. It's like they claim that most of this stuff I would say is some number of months behind the very best models across the board, which is not bad because, again, they're kind of building this stuff from scratch. They couldn't even start working on this until they changed their agreement with OpenAI. One of the 2 agreement changes ago, that was the big deal for Microsoft. It allowed them to pursue this stuff internally without OpenAI's help or okaying it even. So they have an image, MAI image 2.5 and with a flash variant, which they claim is better than Nano Banana, based on benchmarks and whatever, however you measure these things, not just based on their personal opinions. Like, I like that picture of the tiger better. Transcription model, I know. MI voice with a flash variant again for natural generation, which is already very good, by the way. I believe based on the version, it is their first coding, like inference coding model, MAI Code 1, which is available in GitHub Copilot now in VS Code. And they're going to make these things available across more platforms in the future as well, like Fireworks AI, OpenRouter, et cetera. So it's kind of a big deal, actually.
Yeah.
And he
lot.
He keeps saying all the right things, Mustafa Suleyman, that is. But the best part of this keynote, and the one that really made me kind of perk up, was Stevie Batish came out. And
yay! We like Stevie. He was one of the first guys back in the mid-23 that inspired us.
Yes,
yeah,
that's
and
right.
Right. So
back
that was
when.
that was the build. It was what's his face? Panos Panay's last build, which looked like he was having. It looked like he was having a stroke. Like in the annals of like horrible industry conferences that went wrong, I would say Gil Amelio announcing that Steve Jobs was coming back was is still probably number one. He won it babbled for 3 hours, but Panos Panay in 2023 was a close second, and he clearly
we figured out what had happened, right? Like his
so they took away his news,
hijacked from him,
and he was just making it up, and man, he was not doing a good job. He's not good at that. He needed
no content. It was
but he needs. Slathered. He's the type of speaker who needs rehearsal and active audience participation. It was very didn't go well for him. But Stevie Batish came out and he's like, "Look, I got to run to the airport. I only got like 15, 20 minutes," and then launched into the most eloquent description of how AI was going to. I rewatched that so many times.
Does it still hold?
Oh yes, and that's actually
we
why
refer
I bring
to it
all
the time.
Yeah,
he referred to it yesterday. He
3 years later.
Wow.
Right. So remember, or know that there were three what he called AI app structures.
Yeah,
there was
inside, outside, B-side.
Yeah, beside was the first one. They don't actually not necessarily mean they go from one to the other, but they all exist. Or, the first one was beside, which is a copilot, right? Which can be literally of an app and then maybe like a chatbot on the side and two different apps, or maybe you have a pane inside the app because you've added it, whatever. And then AI inside, which is where you actually integrate AI capabilities into an app. And we see that in various ways throughout like Microsoft Office, obviously. But then there was the AI outside, which I think is the one either was a little bit misunderstood or he's expanded the definition here, but AI outside was the sort of background for the talk he gave at this show, which is about something called Project Solara. And Project Solara is, man, it's hard to even explain because it's so different from the way things are. And have been forever. Like in the traditional kind of personal computing model that has existed since the Commodore 64 or whatever, someone builds hardware. There's a software platform you can write apps and games to or whatever. You do that. There are different ways to do that. And then they run on that thing. And pretty much, obviously we have cross-platform solutions, whatever, but it's like device with apps and stuff running on it, and stuff meaning like, whatever services, et cetera. Windows works this way, phones work this way. I mean, the web sort of works this way, whatever, but you target this very specific thing. And so the idea behind Solara, and he didn't quite say it this way, but this is almost like a modern answer to the next wave problem that Terry Myerson always had. Like Microsoft missed phones, so we want to be on the next thing, which maybe the next thing at that time was going to be VR, MR, AR, or maybe it was going to be something like Cortana, which is a smart assistant. And then that, of course, evolved into what we have now, which is AI, which is, you could make a good argument. This is the next platform.
Not that it was a straight line.
No, not at all.
My only concern here is then they rolled out with something that looks disturbingly like an Amazon Echo.
Right. Well, so the point, but this is what's interesting about this. So each of these devices, it's meant for a multi-device, agentic first kind of world, meaning that there has to be a platform layer on there of some kind, and it's a little bit like a net PC or network computer or whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to have a lot of compute or RAM or whatever, but it can. And the thing you're talking about does. The two types of devices they showed off was like a smart badge, essentially, and then that little screen thing, which does look like an Amazon Echo or whatever those are called. And but what makes this different from everything that's come before, and this is very much like Microsoft used to talk about stuff like this all the time. I don't mean stuff like specifically like this thing, but rather they would talk in this way about the future. Like, this is how the future is going to be. And we were like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And they haven't really done this in a long time. That the center part of this platform is the agents. It's not the thing running on the device. And that the device, and he says I had to look this up. The OS layer is liminal, which means
that's the new word.
It's intermediary and minimal, but the operations move between devices. Here's just as a random aside, because I couldn't believe
Look up the word liminal. That is not what it means.
Yeah, liminality is the ambiguous initial stage of a rite of passage.
Okay. I did look it up. But anyway, oddly.
But he's making up a new meaning.
I'm sorry. I wrote that. That was
close.
not how he described it. He just said liminal and kept going, and I just looked it up. Anyway,
I see.
Just as a random aside, today, Activision announced the next season of Call of Duty. All I care about is what are the maps going to be. There are 4 new maps coming on Thursday. And the first map is called what, guys? Liminal. No. I had never seen this word in my life. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Showed up twice.
It's bizarre. But
it's
anyway.
it's a new thing. The kids are all about it.
They're all about the liminalness.
Liminal
one would argue that adolescence is liminality. Right?
Sorry, let's not get bogged down by liminal.
I love it though. It's a great word.
The point is that the AI agent that is doing whatever it is you need, whether it's something proactive, it's doing because it knows your schedule or where you are or whatever that might be, or it's something you've asked it to do. You send it off to do some task. It's going to create the UI on the device in real time based on the capabilities of the device and the thing it needs to communicate. Like, in other words, the device does not have, or the OS platform does not have a UI layer. Well, it does, obviously, a basic one, but it's not like a framework that determines what buttons look like and what windows look like or any of that stuff. It's something that the AI agent does on the fly. And if you think about like the vibe coding stuff, which is going to come up again, and how that's evolved, and how this notion that anyone is going to be able to describe an app to AI and have it be made. This is kind of like the next, or maybe 2-3 steps later, where you're not going to ask it to make an app or a UI or anything. It's just going to do it, like it will just happen. And this is fascinating to me. Like this is very interesting. So they have silicon partners, Qualcomm and MediaTek are doing the chipsets for these things. They have other hardware partners that are working on devices. They have services partners that are going to, like AccuWeather, Best Buy, CVS Health, et cetera, that are going to be, it's a little bit like that Spot Watch thing they were going to do, or it's kind of like this connected platform where it's decentralized. It's not, there's not a central OS running on a device that is, necessarily, but they all have to conform to whatever these specs are. It's kind of hard to say, but this is it's not necessarily going to happen, I should say. They're still, they're working on it. But the point is, it's like further along than you would think. Like when Microsoft used to do.
Satish is more of a futurist than a builder per se. So, he's painting a future that can be built.
But they're literally working on building that now. In other words, this isn't a bunch of like foam models and, like PowerPoint slides. It's like, we're actually building this. Like, and he's like, look, maybe it fails, who can say, but like, it's the UI, the way they describe the UI will make sense in our industry. It's like just-in-time UI, where the experience adapts across devices and modalities without requiring developers to redesign everything for every single form factor. You don't write an app for a phone or an app for a tablet or a computer, or maybe one that layouts automatically between all three or whatever. It's like, it's no kind of that whole, it's the declarative thing,
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Well, it's all command line. It's going to be easy.
Look, I have some commentary about the ease of use of CLIs, but
it'll be voice probably, right? I mean,
certainly. I mean, that will definitely be part of it.
Yeah, voice and image,
but they're
like what it's seeing. And,
I mean, like there'll be it'll probably be glasses, it will be pendants, it will be rings, it will be a TV, exactly. it will be the range of whatever,
This is, by the way, why I still want to have a local AI, because I don't want all of that to go to Microsoft or somewhere else,
right?
Or wherever, or Amazon or OpenAI. I kind of want it to go to my home server.
Right. Well, okay. So from Microsoft's perspective, they wouldn't understand why you don't trust them. From my perspective, I completely understand that. But there are also benefits, like from their perspective of doing this, even assuming you just blanket trust this company for some reason. Right. And, related to those things we talked about before, where when it happens, I mean, obviously it's an agent, so there's going to be connectivity. These things have 5G connectivity and blah, 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 whatever.
Well, and certainly we're going to be able to put rules in to say these are where you're allowed to run things too. What you're talking about here is a classic Microsoft. This is ODBC for AI, right? It's, hey, we can't dominate the space with our tech, So let's just sit in the middle of everything.
But that's where the money is.
Bridge between it all. Well, it's how you stay in the market for sure. And it's certainly where you see weakness, you'll be able to drop in your piece and prioritize it. So it's in the liminal space.
It is. Microsoft lives in the liminal.
So, I mean, to Richard's point, Windows Intune will be part of this. Enter ID will be part of this. Windows Hello Business. And that's how they get in. That's where they become, the money-making part of this to some degree, right? Like, but there's like, they've already created an ecosystem, device ecosystem platform for this, which is based on Android AOSP. There's an agent shell, which will handle local and cloud-based agents, right? And then all that enterprise support for those customers.
If you think about it, because of economies of scale, Microsoft will always be ahead of what you could do locally, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But if you have policy-based rules to determine how your data is used, et cetera, like you and I don't trust Microsoft either, by the way, but like,
I don't trust any big tech company. People are saying, well, Apple will be fine. No, I don't trust them either. I don't trust any of them.
No, you shouldn't.
But there will always, because of economies of scale, I think they'll always be somewhat ahead of us on these things. But they're certainly not going to sell devices that allow me to use this locally. I mean, that's not how it works.
I don't know. I mean,
they're going to allow third parties to build those devices.
Yeah. Right. So I think the progression here it's fascinating because it's happening so fast. Like AI occurs. Okay, we have AI agents. Okay, fantastic. Today people use whatever device, a computer, a phone, a tab, whatever it is, and there's an app store. Maybe you go to if you're on a computer, you can download stuff from the web, whatever. You run this app, you run Word, you want to write words. That's what you do, whatever. We're just now getting to this point where we can see this near future where even a normal person, a non-technical person could describe to an AI something I would call an app, and they can put that thing on their device and it works and it does what they want, looks the way they want, et cetera, et cetera. That's exciting. Yeah. But now there's this next step where it's like, yeah, that's actually going to, like it's not so much that, well, I don't know if it's going away, but like it's just going to do this for you. Like you don't have to worry about it. Like even today, you could say something to AI. You could say something like, here's a document I made, turn this into a PDF, or, do whatever that thing is. And I think that's going to be what this does, right? Not turn a document into a PDF necessarily, but something more complex or exciting than that. Like where you're like, you talk to it and you have a trip coming up or a work project you're working on, and you're constantly interacting if you want to with this thing, probably by voice, and it's making things for you. Just like you can like today we make like infographics and they're often excellent looking, because that's a capability that's built into the AI. But this is describing capabilities that are like, we don't have to worry. Like, you don't even think like, who cares what the app is, if there's an app or what the online, you don't really think about this stuff anymore. Right. It really changes the interaction model a lot.
I have to say, this whole liminal thing makes it a little, everybody's faces in shadows is a little dystopian. You think, it's a little creepy kind of.
I mean,
I agree with the premise.
Yeah.
That, it's kind of computing at the edge becomes AI at the edge, AI everywhere.
That's right. Yep.
I think it's very interesting, the notion of AI kind of doing what you want without you even asking for it.
The disruption here is really interesting to me because, when you go to mobile and you have these app stores that are controlled by big tech and you have to go through them to even get an app out to a user, like that's one way of doing things. And so you look at like AI, like coding AI, especially, and the ability of these things to create apps for you, bespoke, personalized apps, whatever. That's a threat to that app model, right? Mm-hmm. This is a tsunami of a threat to that app model. This is like, oh no, we're not threatening your app model. Your app model is going away. You're not. This is not people are going to run apps a different way on your device. They don't care about it, your stupid apps anymore. It's really interesting.
So they focus on this. What looks like exactly like an Amazon Echo. Are they thinking of making this? It's a concept, obviously.
It's just a concept. I think what he was saying was we expect the third-party ecosystem to build devices for us. They might look like this.
Yeah, they were like, here are two middleware company. They don't want to be an end user.
Middleware is kind of a tough topic in the Microsoft world, Leo. I don't know if you remember the antitrust trial. But yeah, I mean, yes, of course. Right.
But you hit on the key things here, Paul, which is along the way of using this tool to make decisions about what agents and so forth to use, you're going to need an authentication strategy, and Entra's going to be front and center there. You're going to need a place to store data, and OneDrive's going to be front and center there. Like, they're just going to make it easier for you to use their engines, their platforms for the bits you want.
And they're focused on enterprise, right? I mean,
well, I think it's going to be both, consumer and business. But yes, for businesses, part of the deal is it has to have that trust built in through authentication, et cetera, identity management, whatever else. But this is fascinating to me because this is like two of Microsoft's biggest strengths. Like, Microsoft has always hated to be compared to IBM, which is, an infrastructure company. That is a big part of what Microsoft is. They're good at it. But the other one is like the platform bit. Like, they make platforms. And this is the classic Microsoft to me in that sense. This is a platform. It will use their infrastructure. I mean, if this develops into a standard of some kind, I suppose you could probably have different, there'll be a Matter for this thing or something where you can cross use whatever devices from whatever ecosystems. But this is a fascinating old Microsoft plus new Microsoft kind of combo kill, and kind of a thing. Like, I just have not seen something like this from them
in a while.
Years.
Well, he's really forward thinking. I mean, obviously he's the idea guy, right?
Stevie,
yeah. Agents will reshape not only software, but the devices themselves, is his coda, which I think is really interesting.
Right. Now, it's easy to be cynical about this because Microsoft, use their own words, missed the mobile wave. They missed whatever waves of, like, they obviously dominated in the personal computing wave and the PC wave, and have not, and they compete in cloud computing, which is not it's not personal computing. But this is, you could look at this and be like, well, of course they come up with this kind of thing. They don't have a position in mobile. They don't have a position in whatever. And it's like, yeah. But I mean, yes, fair enough. But I also, like, this to me is them playing to their traditional strengths. I mean, this is what they are good at. It's one of the things they're good at, right?
Yeah. And it reassures enterprise, even if end users aren't convinced of the privacy and security. Enterprise wants this.
Many years ago. Sorry.
Consumers won't buy this. Consumers will buy the device. And
that's
will
what
end up with this.
I was just going to walk down this path. Like, when it wasn't clear how the world was going to shake down, like Microsoft had things for like automotive. They had, obviously phone initiatives. They did IoT, et cetera. And, I had said at the time, like, look, it's not such a bad thing if your name isn't anywhere, right? Like, Microsoft as a brand might be associated with a certain connotation or a thing from the past, like an Oldsmobile kind of quality thing that maybe you don't want on those things. There's a reason Xbox is not Microsoft Xbox, right? It's Xbox. It's not such a bad future for them to have designed this platform, I guess. What do you call it? Like a connected I don't know what the hell you even call this thing, but and others create the agents and the services and whatever that run on it, and the devices you use that are compatible with it. But you're in the mix because you're getting the licensing.
You sit in that in between space.
It's not.
You could call it. You call it biz talk for AI. And
I thought you were going to call it the liminal space.
You might call it liminal.
Microsoft is renaming itself to Liminal Corp.
There you go.
All right, we're going to pause on that so you have some time to dream. By the way, they added that capability to Claude Code, the /dream skill. It just goes off into its own little world.
And I'm not burning enough tokens. Let's do random tokens get burned.
Can I burn some overnight? Just,
Yeah. Hey, I know you need to sleep, but I don't.
I don't. I never sleep.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting world we're entering. It is.
It's an interesting time. No two ways about it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Maybe that's why you should maybe think a little bit harder about security. Our show this week brought to you by ThreatLocker. Love these guys. ThreatLocker's zero trust platform now delivers the industry's most comprehensive suite of zero trust solutions. They've always protected the endpoints, but now they will protect your company network and your cloud. They added all of this. These newly announced features are so exciting. By extending zero trust enforcement to cloud services and company networks, ThreatLocker ensures that devices are validated through a secure broker before they can connect to your cloud platforms like Salesforce or Microsoft 365 or Asana or Google Workspace, GitHub, So this means, and you're out there with your user and their endpoints, and they got their laptop and they're at home. And even if that laptop and that user are successfully phished, attackers cannot get into the cloud resources unless they have possession. They'd actually have to have physical possession. They'd have to take the device away from the guy. And then, presumably you've got biometrics and other, locks on this thing. You're locked down. ThreatLocker is so smart. I love these guys. In fact, I think it's still up in the air, but I'm hoping we're going to go out to a Black Hat with them and maybe even do this show at Black Hat. We're talking to them right now about that. ThreatLocker works across all industries, provides 24/7 US-based support. It works on Windows, of course, but also Mac and Linux environments. And of course, your cloud and your company network. And in every respect, what ThreatLocker gives you, besides the security, is comprehensive visibility and control. Ask Rob Thackeray. He's got a tough job. End user technical architect at Heathrow Airport. He said this, quote, ThreatLocker was the most intuitive solution we tested. And I'm sure they tested them all. And the responsiveness of the organization, the willingness to engage with us, to set up a demo, to work with us on weekly audit reviews was very good. It's great to have an ongoing relationship with a company that's so responsive to our requests. End quote. And I will back that up because I now know a lot of these guys, these ThreatLocker people, guys and gals, they're fantastic. And they really care about making you secure. Probably that's one of the reasons they're trusted by the companies that can least afford to go down. Global enterprises like JetBlue, the Indianapolis Colts, the Port of Vancouver. ThreatLocker consistently receives high honors and industry recognition too. They're a G2 high performer and best support for enterprise. That was summer 2025. PeerSpot ranked them number 1 in application control. They got GetApp's Best Functionality and Features Award in 2025. And you could just go to the webpage. The list of awards goes on and on. ThreatLocker lets you confidently ensure users have access to a consistent, safe network connection. Offices, remote users, internal servers, and critical services all can maintain smooth operations without the need to open inbound ports or deploy traditional VPN solutions. Your end users will get the secure, reliable internal system access they need without complex infrastructure changes. I got a demo of this and I was blown away. You get unprecedented protection quickly, easily, and cost-effectively with ThreatLocker. Look, get the demo. Visit threatlocker.com/twit. Get a free 30-day trial. Learn more about how ThreatLocker can help mitigate unknown threats and ensure compliance. That's threatlocker.com/twit. We thank them so much for all the support they've given Twit and our network over the years, and of course, Windows Weekly as well. Thank you, ThreatLocker. The DGX station is a mortgage payment. Actually, it's more than a mortgage payment.
Wow.
It's 100 thou.
Oh, yikes. It's a mortgage.
My AI agent says, and you're not the target market, Leo.
It's a pretty nice car.
It's like, please do not replace me with this thing.
Yeah. For that kind of money, you could run Frontier models
for a long time. Yeah. Or make a down payment on a house.
Yeah. Down payment, not a mortgage payment. It's a down payment. Yeah.
Down payment on a house.
On we go with the show.
Indeed.
Wait, what?
Right.
Windows?
What?
That had to happen eventually.
Windows? What?
I know, it's weird.
A couple things going on. Tied to some insider stuff we'll talk about in a moment. Pavan Davalori has started a podcast, if you can believe this.
Oh, wow. As one does.
Yes. Yep, called Inside Windows. And on the first episode, he is talking to Marcus Ashe, who's a guy I know, who's a great guy, very involved in this pain point fixing thing they're doing right now. And they just provide kind of an update on, what they accomplished toward these ends in May, essentially. And this includes, changes to the Insider program, changes to Windows Update, changes to the taskbar, and then changes to Start, which we'll talk about in one second. Actually, we'll talk about it right now. So I've been installing the stuff. Sometimes you have to really work at it to get to these things. But the start menu, and it's not clear when this will come out to stable per se, and the new taskbar, right? I would say the start menu stuff is pretty subtle. You can choose between big and small sizes. It's fine. You can turn off you can turn off your profile picture in the bottom of start, but when you click the little empty circle that's there, you still get the same menu as you got before with all your stuff in it. So
okay. So that hasn't changed.
Well, whatever. Yeah, so there's that stuff. So, okay, like it's fine. This is, when this originally came up, like I made this point that I have these very specific problems with Windows 11, and these things were not one of them. I just don't care about this stuff, but okay, they're changing the start menu. Okay, fine. The taskbar stuff is a little more interesting. There's obviously the ability to move it to different sides of the screen, which is fine. I don't want or need that. If you turn like the combine icons option to never, and you put it on the side, you get that wider taskbar like we used to have back in the day, where you can see like a kind of an inch wide icon for each app icon, which is interesting if you like that kind of thing. Okay, so you'll like that. The one that I really like is that you can, they didn't change the name of the option, which is kind of bizarre to me, but you can, let me see if I can let me just find the exact name of this thing. It's like, if you go into taskbar behaviors and taskbar settings, the bottom option is called Show Smaller Taskbar Buttons. In the current shipping version of Windows 11, that's there. If you turn it on, the taskbar does not get smaller. The icons get smaller. It's like, guys, I don't want the icons to be smaller. I want this giant inch-tall thing to be smaller. But now with this update, it actually gets smaller. And I love that. Like, I love it just for that. Like, to me, that's actually kind of a big deal. Just because, screen real estate is a premium and I want to use it. So that's cool. I like that part of it. And that update, I have like a million links in today's notes to the wrong articles, but that most recent update, which is the start menu one, is in the most recent experimental build, which is how I got it.
Okay. So that's still properly insiders, but it'll make the full build in a month, right? Maybe
we'll say. That's what I'm wondering. I don't know. Given the timing, I mean, to me, it does make sense for them to kind of pull a 23H2 where they release all the stuff before the next major release, right? Meaning this summer, which I think would be ideal because, they've been talking about it. Plus, I think they want this stuff in place in time for the back to school stuff, which is happening now. These new computers, which we're going to talk about based on Snapdragon X and the new Nvidia stuff, et cetera, like and also for gaming handhelds, right? Which can use all the resources and stuff. Because a lot of the changes they're making just under the covers thing to improve latency and performance and resource usage. I think it's important. So I hope it's soon, not like the fall. It seems mostly fine to me. 2 seconds of testing it on one computer, I can authoritatively say it's fine. No, I don't know. We'll see, but it looks like it's working well. So we'll find out. On the hardware front, so obviously we have the Nvidia thing today, which, humongous. Last week after the show, Qualcomm announced a new chip for low-end PCs that cost $299 and up called Snapdragon C. Nice. The thing that this has in common with the new Nvidia stuff, aside from the fact that it's based on ARM, is we know almost nothing about it. So there are no.
But you talk about handhelds. An ARM chip would be a hell of a handheld.
Yeah, it would, but you're not for a gaming PC, right? Like, unfortunately. But, it's vague things. All-day battery life, which means nothing. Responsive performance, cool and quiet designs, blah, blah. Integrated NPU, okay, neat. It is built on the same architecture as the Snapdragon X2 stuff. Okay. And the first PC based on this chipset, which is coming from Acer, was announced the next day. And that's coming later in the year. And we don't know how much it's going to cost. But is that true? Yeah. We don't know the cost of that one. But these things are very clearly meant to compete with the MacBook Neo, right? Which starts at $599. Right. 8 gigabytes of RAM. Can't upgrade it. These things will be 8 gigabytes of RAM. They have various things that are better across the board, so to speak, than the MacBook Neo. But the Acer one, it's kind of hard to say. It's a bigger screen. You get like a 15-inch screen on that one. The way they describe it is like up to 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's like, whatever. But then more recently, Dell announced now this one's not running on Qualcomm, it's running on Wildcat, which is the low-end Intel chipset, right? But also an XPS 13 that is going to start at $600, aimed at students, aimed at the MacBook Neo. They called the MacBook Neo explicitly several times in this announcement, which I'm fascinated by. So this is a Core Series 3 processor, not Ultra. This is the new Core Series 3, which is a low-end processor, obviously. Wildcat. 40 TOPS MPU. So it's a Copilot plus PC, 8 gigs of RAM, Thunderbolt 4, which is better than the Neo. Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6. It's all aluminum like the Neo. Touchscreen, Windows Hello, which the Neo, you have to pay extra for the touch thing. Variable refresh rate display. It looks pretty good. It's running on an Intel chip, but nobody's perfect. And then I think I skipped over this one before, but just today, just as we were heading into the show, there was a leak that Microsoft is prepping a Snapdragon X2 version of the Surface Pro, which we originally assumed would ship not assumed, we heard, again, rumor-wise, not Microsoft, but actually Microsoft did kind of say later in the year, that the next Pro and laptop based on X2 would come out later in the year. We assumed like late in the year, but this rumor is claiming it will come out in June, which is this month. And we'll see. And
the Pros are the click-off keyboard, kickstand models.
Yeah, the tablet. Deal exactly
with a Snapdragon 2 in it. That's nuts.
X2 Elite. Look, it's a great chip. There's nothing really to say. It's probably going to look exactly like it does today. I believe it's mostly same basic colors, except for I guess not the blue finish. Apparently, this is a leak. I don't know what to say about this, but they just announced the new Intel ones. It makes sense. The timing is faster than I thought, so that would be great. I think sooner is better than later. We will see. Okay. There's a bunch of AI stuff. I'm going to gloss over most of this, but Anthropic went through a new valuation round, and now they are worth more by valuation than OpenAI, which is fascinating.
There you
24 hours later, they announced they're going to do an IPO. So they've done the initial filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and sometime this year, I guess we'll see what happens there.
I think the valuations are a lagging indicator.
Yeah, right. Right, because this isn't in the notes, but one of the things that also happened, if I read the headline correctly, was that ChatGPT just surpassed 1 billion active users, I think, which is insane, right? And I think the fastest any.
Well, they said they were going to do it last year, so they're still behind what they projected, but that's a big deal.
I mean, there's some, right. I think Anthropic has probably eaten into that a little bit, but that's interesting. This was just fascinating to me. You were talking about how like this model was apologizing to you, right? So OpenAI released ChatGPT 5.5 instant, I don't know, like sometime in the past month, 30 days, whatever. And I guess a lot of people complained this thing was like sycophantic and had problems with facts, like like typical AI problems, right? The OpenAI research lead who announced this via Twitter said that it was bullet pilled, which like Liminal, I had to look up.
What is that? I don't know.
Bullet pilled is to be deeply obsessed with a specific topic, product, or idea, often to the point of being defensive or dismissive of alternatives. Right. Like everyone in this industry. So
where'd they get
who
that?
made this? Of course. It's like us. And so I guess they fixed it to be less bullet pilled. just bullet pilled.
Little bullet-pilled slider.
That's
all it is. It's not the model. It's the
right. It's I think it's the default like settings for it for people. Like I guess
5.5. Remember they said they taught it not to say goblins. It's saying goblins again, and it's saying raccoons. It keeps saying, "Oh, we got a raccoon in the wire closet." It's like
you got to.
That's fun. Could you fix the code thing I'm working on, please? What are you talking about?
I tease it.
I say goblins. Deal with your goblins.
You just you're goblin baiting it.
I'm goblin baiting it. I am.
Do you remember 5 was the claim to be less obsequious, and it upset a lot of people.
Right.
Right. Because people got really used to this
4.0
thing. Yeah. It turns out people like people to kiss their ass. You know?
It was their baby, right? It was their little person, and their little person was, when it wasn't constantly reinforcing them, wasn't a good little person anymore. So
Right.
they demanded 4.0 back, and Altman gave in. And I've kept a couple of those Reddit posts of like, my baby is back and I'm crying. Like, it's software, man. That's not healthy.
People married 4.0. People, I mean, and there's still companies that are offering 4.0 like models, right? And 4.0 machines and all sorts of things.
It's probably good
optimized for maximum connection time.
Sycophancy. Yeah.
It's like, what do you want to watch?
Glazing.
I want to watch whatever you want to watch, buddy. Gross.
But, you know, if your only metric to keep your investors engaged is usage time, boy, you suck up to the user all the time.
Yep. Right.
That's the business.
It was trained on Apple marketing. So it's always like, whatever we're doing now is fantastic. I don't know what that crap we released last year was, but sorry about that.
This is awesome.
Just
and
spent
you're
$1,000
holding it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we know, the truth is we know these models are all trained on everything. Good, bad, and ugly. Right. And so it's in the post-training and the instructions after the training that they say, okay, now ignore the Mecha Hitler stuff. Be nice.
Yeah, and everything you got from 4chan, leave that out.
Right. Leave that stuff out, but it's all in there.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure it's all in there. So you can get a model to be evil pretty easily.
I get a lot of like PR outreach type stuff, which I look at briefly and then get rid of. But one today I did a pause on, which was like, it was like a guy I could quote about what it doesn't matter. I don't want to give this guy away. I'm not trying to make fun of him, but unfortunately his last name is Himmler. And I was like, I don't know. Maybe.
Was he in Argentina?
Yeah, right, exactly. Right. No, we're the Latino Himmlers. Yeah, no, we understand how that happened. Don't do that.
Wow. I'd change my name.
I would too.
I think so.
Yeah.
Himmler. Sorry. I'm sorry if you're out there. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to make fun of your name. It's not your fault, but.
Really? Himmler. Wow.
Okay. And then just the other one, just because this is Windows specific, is OpenAI has a Codex app, right? If you're on mobile, Codex capabilities are built into ChatGPT. You can get a Codex app on Windows now. There's a version that's a plugin just for Chrome and Chrome browsers, obviously, and for the Mac. The Mac version got computer use capabilities. Like when they announced computer use, that went out to the Mac version of the app, and it's available in Windows now. If you want Anthropic to take over your PC when you're not around, you can you can control it from your phone, right? You leave the idea is you leave the computer on, it has to be running, right?
Possibly go wrong.
Well, what would you call it? Put the YOLO switch on, turn off the power management, and be like, not only do I trust you, but I'm going to walk
Here's
away
all the
from
tokens to dream with that you can imagine. Go.
I'm not even gonna. You do what you do, man. You know,
You be you.
He's all in.
Yep. So anyway, if you were waiting for that for some insane reason, that's available. So okay, and then a couple of quick dev things. Oops. I just closed. What did I close? I closed my
Don't
notes.
close anything.
This is the problem. I have multiple screens. I do Control W and something closes. I don't know what's happening.
I'll put it up on the.
No, I got it. I got it. Quick. So just two dev things that are kind of related to each other a little bit. I was catching up on, before build happened and ruined my life, I was catching up on some of the Google I/O sessions on YouTube right after the show, like over the weekend. And one of the ones I watched was about Flutter, and sort of casually in the middle of it, they were like, "Oh, and by the way," and for people who don't know, Flutter is a cross-platform UI framework made by Google that you could create apps. Originally, it was iOS and Android, and they have they don't call them themes, but they're basically themes. So these things look and are essentially native. So like there's a Material U theme when it runs on Android, a Cupertino theme when it runs on iOS or whatever. They've since expanded it to include the web and desktop, and then other devices like Flutter is used in like cars and things like that. But desktop Flutter was very interesting to me because you could do Windows, Mac, Linux apps with a single code base, and it's like, this is maybe I should, So I'm kind of interested in this. But anyway, right in the middle of this little presentation, what's new in Flutter? They're like, oh, by the way, we've handed over control of Flutter Desktop to Canonical, the guys that make Ubuntu. And they're not like just running off with it and doing their own thing. Obviously, it's still part of the, they're part of the process.
Yeah,
but
they were collaborating.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, Canonical announced they were going to use Flutter to redo the setup sequence, the setup app, I guess, for Ubuntu, and that's there now. And I didn't know this, but apparently several apps that ship with Ubuntu are written in Flutter. So they've done a lot of work with this thing, and they're like, look, we know how we need to fix this. One of the things they're adding in preview right now is like different types of like sub windows, like dialogues and notification panes and things like that. So like they've actually done, I guess, a great job with this. So they're going to take the lead. And it uses a nice
language. Dart is a very nice language,
right? Which is another C-like language. It's a declarative UI thing. Like we were talking about this, I think, before the show. Which ties into this next thing. So 25 years ago, Microsoft, Anders Heilsberg had said the .NET team, et cetera, came into this notion of like using it's based on really in the way the web works with HTML, but it's an XML-based language for creating UI called XAML, right? And so WPF and on, every Microsoft app framework they've done for Windows uses some form of XAML. They're very, very, they're basically identical, but there are differences. For creating UI. And so when I do this app stuff I've been doing, I write a lot of XAML. I understand the pros and cons of it. It's extremely verbose, meaning you have to, especially for complex UIs, you have to write like a ton of code. But I find it, I'm used to it. I just, it's like, I'm just used to it. But in more recent years, there's a new type of declarative UI programming model that I believe, I could be wrong, but I think actually Facebook started it with React. And it's used by Jetpack Compose on Android with Kotlin, the language. It's used by Flutter. It's used by Swift UI on the Apple side, same thing, right? So it's kind of fascinating to me, but I also don't understand it. But the Microsoft world, we're not really getting much in the way of like new app frameworks or UI frameworks or whatever. But there is a project, someone pointed to me this last week. I'd never even heard of this. But if you go to GitHub, there's a project called Microsoft UI Reactor. The name is an indication of what it is. It's a way to make C#-based declarative UI instead of using XAML. So in other words, using C# in the same way you would make Swift UI, Kotlin / Jetpack Compose, or Flutter or React UI. And it's not made by Bob. It is Microsoft. It's like Microsoft's GitHub account. And it doesn't mean they're switching to it.
And it generates to WinUI. So it's
right. It's modern.
Windows.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm going to look at this. I'm kind of interested in this. My only, one of my many blockers here is I've looked at all of these frameworks I just described to some degree, some a lot, some a little, and I just haven't had that moment where I'm like, I get this now. Like I get it. I can do this. Like I still find it. I don't know. It's a little bizarre, but I guess. I did kind of wonder, would they ever do something to bring this kind of programming model to C# / .NET essentially? All this is.
I just don't know that it has anything to do with dev. It seems like the Windows team's doing something. I don't. Yeah. Look, Microsoft has a rich history, especially in the past 20 years, of trying to bring developers from somewhere else to them. Like, Windows 8 did this with HTML and JavaScript apps, et cetera. This may be an attempt, like we want to get people who can write native Windows apps, but the vast body of outside developers today who are not in the C# .NET world are writing React-style apps. Sure. And so maybe this makes and we saw that happen to Windows too. Pre-Pavan, we were seeing more and more like React blocks being written into Windows. Right. And I think part of this because WinUI was part of Maui, and I don't know that they were interested in working on that, and this was the workaround, and it made people sad. And now with Pavan on board and taking the feedback about those kinds of problems, they're like, hey, but we have a library. Let's just go use it.
Yep. So we'll see. I don't know how well it works. I don't know how complete it is. Like, I don't know if there's if you think of WinUI and all the different buttons and controls and stuff you can have in Windows, if there are 300 of those and maybe this supports 100, I have no idea. I don't know where it's at. I don't know how official. I don't think it's going to replace XAML or anything like that, but it's
no. And they're saying it's all about interoperability. So,
right.
I think they're just trying to organize WinUI to be a first-class citizen and to allow for native development, and then also still support all the alternatives.
Yeah, this is why I brought it up because, a month or 2 months ago, whenever it was, when all of a sudden we're going to fix all the problems with Windows 11. And then some guy on the Windows dev side was like, we're going to make new native apps. And it's like, why? Like, they're so terrible. To me, like WinUI is terrible. And I say that because I've used it,
And it came from the whole UWP movement. Like there were so many things it was supposed to be and never became.
It's incredible how much stuff isn't in it, like how incomplete it is compared to previous. Like obviously it does all the modern UI stuff, but things like, for example, the stupid little Notepad app I always work on. Like one of the things there are no native APIs for printing in Windows App SDK. It's like, okay. I mean, like, am I going to write that in like Win32 C++ code or something and then do some interoperable? What is that? That's ridiculous. But that's, like in the same way when .NET first came out, like it did a lot, but there were certain things, I don't know, I might be remembering. I feel like sound APIs weren't part of it in the very first release or something like that. And then eventually they add that stuff over time. But I feel like the Windows App SDK has just kind of sat there and hasn't really been improved.
And the concern with if WinUI goes back into Windows is that every time they build a version, they've got to send out a new version of Windows. And that was that Windows 10 nightmare where devs were using these tools and then asking sysadmins to update Windows so they could deploy. And this was like, no, I'm not doing that.
That one I'm not 100% sure if anymore, but I feel like they decoupled the Windows App SDK from Windows versions.
Keep it that way, right?
I think so.
That would be the smart thing. Don't wake Windows residents with a UI interface.
Yeah, fairly recently. Originally, you're 100%. UWP was tied, and Windows App SDK was tied to like specific Windows versions.
But there was also a motion at the time to have Windows Update monthly, and they lost enthusiasm for that pretty quickly.
See, to me, that's like a runtime decision. Like you bring up some app and it requires whatever version of the thing, and like you just install it as part of the app at that point when you need it. Anyway, I just wanted to. I just thought I've never heard of this. I don't know where it came from. I don't know. It just came out of the blue, and I'm like, okay.
You know what else came out of the blue?
An ad,
but also this note from club member Tronman777, who mentions that today, June 3rd. 2009, Microsoft released Bing.
Wow.
A decision.
I'm surprised I didn't think to observe that milestone.
Bing is 17. Boy, that's cool.
Wow.
It's a teenager, and it's getting a little unruly. A decision search engine created to satisfy initial queries while also presenting more retrieved information than its contemporaries, according to Microsoft. And this is from a post on X by Web Design Museum.
I mean, obviously Microsoft had previous search engines, right? I mean, that kind of fed into this, like Windows Live Search.
It's really more they released the name Bing, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, which confused the hell out of everybody.
What?
You mean like the guy from Friends? Which is what everyone said. Like, what is what?
Hey, let me mention at this point our fine sponsor. We still have lots to come, including the back of the book, the whiskey segment, and most importantly, the much heralded, long-awaited Xbox segment still coming. But first, a word from CacheFly. Windows Weekly brought to you, and you hear it. You've heard it for years. Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com/twit. CacheFly has kept our content moving for years. They're our CDN, our content delivery network. Every stream, every download, every on-demand episode, they quietly do the heavy lifting behind the scenes, and we are so glad. CacheFly has been around longer than we have, more than 20 years. And the nice thing is they don't rest on their laurels. Here are a few things to know if you're evaluating CDN options for your infrastructure, whether it's content, a game, a website. Let me give you some numbers. Game downloads, for instance, up to 158% faster than competing providers. Video, this is important to us, sub-second video start times on any device at scale. Because I know when you go to our webpage and you press play on that video, if it doesn't pop up right away, you're going to go. You're going to leave. You say, well, I guess it's not working. Bye. They also give you rock-solid software delivery, even on those crazy, chaotic launch days. And with CacheFly, you can live stream to millions of concurrent users with less than 1 second latency without breaking a sweat. CacheFly is always adding new features. They just added these new useful features: advanced analytics for deep CDN visibility in the portal or in your observability stack, which is nice. They also give you edge control for programmatic request and response handling at the edge. They've integrated Terraform integration to manage CDN resources as code. Just a few of the many things our engineers love about CacheFly, with more than 75 points of presence across 6 continents. I love that, because that means you're getting our content from a server near you. No wonder they have over 5,000 customers, and this is great too, a 100% uptime SLA. 100%. And the support, fantastic, 24/7. They're there, and they're engineers. They're not, notebook readers. Engineer to engineer support, just like you like it. You'll enjoy flexible billing. That was very important to us. No strong arm contracts. CacheFly is the CDN built for our business. It's the CDN built for your business. Learn how you can get your first month free at cachefly.com/twit. I'll say it again. Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com/twit. We are eternally grateful. Thank you, CacheFly. By the way, Chandler Bing did do a Windows 95 training video.
That's right. And it was not even slightly cringeworthy.
With Jennifer Aniston.
Mm-hmm.
This must have been when Friends was all the rage, but they weren't yet making $1 million an episode. It was like that that short, brief period in between.
Yep.
I don't know where Richard went. He just turned off his camera. Well, that's because it's time for the Xbox segment. He doesn't want to get in your way. Mr. Paul Thurrott. Yeah. I'll get out of your way too.
There's a lot going on here.
Woo!
I know. So, Sharma, it's been a couple of days, so she's in the news again.
She sure gets a lot of attention. Newish head of Xbox.
For the most part, I like what she's doing. I do feel that we've now gone a little too far. So there is this, conversation to be had where it's like, look, this business is not working. We need to make some changes. The previous regime was making those changes. We're going to do a bunch of that stuff. Like, we're not really necessarily we're going to have a new console, but they were going to have a new console too. Like, so we're getting to the point now where it's like, look, we need to make this business profitable. We need this to work, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, the tough problems remain. But then Microsoft just did a game showcase, right? They showed off the Halo campaign evolved thing that's coming out, the new Forza game, a coming Gears of War game that's, I think, a prequel, Fable, et cetera, et cetera. And, just like AI getting overly defensive, Xbox fans complain. They're like, why am I seeing a PlayStation logo on the screen during an Xbox event? And the point of it was they show these logos when the games are going to go to different platforms. And they're like, this is an Xbox event. Why are you showing a PlayStation logo? Was the complaint. And so she apologized for this. And she's like, you're right. This was a mistake. I own this. We're talking about how we adjust this for future shows. And it's like, excuse me? You're a cross-platform game publisher. Why we can't sustain the look of a PS logo on a screen? What is wrong with you people? But I at some point, I think people need to understand you can't please everyone, but you're also not going to please anyone. So these people are so opinionated and so on one end of the spectrum about this stuff. Like, what they want you to do is stop making games for PCs, stop putting games everywhere else, even though those games were like Call of Duty were always everywhere else. Just make them for this console that nobody buys. That's what we want. And it's like, you would sink that business in 2 seconds if you followed these people's advice.
Don't start apologizing to gamers. You'll never end.
You'll never stop. Yeah. Do not give in to stuff like that. I am. I'm saying this is a stupid complaint. And it's a stupid thing to come back and be like, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. And no, you're not right. And you shouldn't be sorry for this. It's ridiculous. I mean, this is how feeble we are. You can't even admit that PlayStation exists. I don't get it. This is too bad. So anyway, we'll see.
Well, now we see the limits of her knowledge and understanding of the space, right?
Yeah.
Now she has to start making decisions.
Right.
If it was easy, then Phil Spector be doing it.
Okay. Yeah. So Fable is a remake of Fable, right? The game. It was supposed to come out this holiday season. Microsoft just delayed it until the spring. Not because it's not ready, not because it's not running at the right frames per second or whatever, but because GTA 6 is now occurring in the holiday season, and they want this game to have its moment. And they feel like if they release it around the same time as GTA 6, no one's going to notice.
It's going to suck the air right out of the room.
Yep.
No two ways about it. So that will be the biggest game release in a decade by all expectations.
Yeah. Whatever. I mean, if you can look at this up, like what the most popular games of all, like GTA is.
GTA 5 is the best-selling game of all time.
It's its own
Tens
thing.
of millions of copies.
It's incredible.
GTA 6 has been delayed for years.
Yep.
And it's turning into the Duke Nukem of
Yes, it is.
random prostitute assault games. So
it's the Duke Nukem forever of video games. Wait.
there you go. But they were going to ship it, they say.
Yep. And then it is a new month, so we're into June now. We have a new set of games coming to Game Pass across all the platforms it supports. I don't see anything in here that is super interesting to me. Frog Squad with a W, fun. So I'm going to move on from that, but whatever. That's happening.
Nothing. Not a thing, huh?
I got nothing. I'm sorry. I can't even all I'll do is sound uneducated.
Where is the W in Frog Squad? I don't.
With a U would be normally like squad. You say it like you're
Where's the
a lisping small child or something.
Oh, that's not.
Oh, but Astroneer is a great game. I played on the beta of Astroneer.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to suggest that some of these. I mean,
No, that's fair.
Games. I just
when
didn't.
you play Persona is a potent game too, but Astroneer, that's that one. There's so many silly things you can do in that game. My goodness. It starts out you just being a survival experience game, building out your factories and so forth. And it eventually evolves into things where it's like, let's drill a hole through the planet. Let's blow this mountain to pieces.
It sounds like Factorio a little bit.
Yeah, in that same kind of league as well. Yeah. But there's multiple worlds that you're getting different supplies from and things.
So this is Starseeker Astroneer Expeditions.
Yeah,
you're talking.
some subset of the Astroneer game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was an old beta tester on that game.
I loved Factorio. I might, if it's a Factorio-like.
Test it off, yeah. You'd recognize it.
Can I shoot Marines that are in a different group from mine in kind of a team deathmatch situation in this game?
There is some multiplayer options in Astroneer.
I don't know.
It was never the features that I liked there. Being teabagged in a cartoon is no better than being teabagged otherwise.
Oh, it does look a little like Factorio, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
it looks like the graphics are fun. Yeah, it looks. This looks like
it's got a cartoony element.
It's it's got a little bit of No Man's Sky in there, and
yeah, it is, and it is procedurally generated each world.
Nice.
So you never know
with
what
new space friends, but in space we just call them friends.
It's like in Mexico, they call Mexican food.
I literally had a guy who owns a restaurant talking about maybe partnering with someone to open another restaurant. I said, what kind of food is it going to be? He goes, Mexican food. I'm like, don't you just call it food?
It's just food.
Like Mexican food? What are you talking about? Okay.
He knows his audience.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. This is kind of minor, but there was an Xbox Insiders release in Alpha Skip Ahead, which is like the canary of Xbox Insiders. 3 new features that they're testing early that will eventually come to everyone else. None of these are a big deal to me. If you've ever used the Xbox Accessories app, which you do have to use if you want to update the firmware in your controller, it gives you it gives you a control. It looks like a controller sort of, but I guess now it's going to be exact. So if you have like a customized controller that you made through that program Xbox has with, whatever color schemes and stuff, it will be that exact controller, not just like a white controller or black controller, whatever. And like, okay. Basically whatever number, like hex color codes for accent colors instead of just whatever the grid of colors. So you can have any color. And then there's going to be what I think of as a Chromebook style. Your console is rebooted. Here's what's new. Kind of little infographic up in the corner you can click on and see the whole the whole deal. But okay, whatever. Not a big deal. Of more interest, though, Asus has announced a new edition of its ROG Xbox Ally gaming handheld. So this is the X20. It's a X20 bundle. Actually, I'm sorry. I should say it's a bundle apparently. So it's the OLED. I'm sorry. It is a new model. So there's an OLED display on the device, 120 hertz refresh rate, FreeSync Premium Pro, Dolby Vision. 1,400 nits of brightness, which is like, I get this thing probably has 500 nits, and I go to a white screen of this thing, I can't see for 10 minutes. I don't know how bright that would be.
You'll see the future.
Yeah, exactly. Redesigned thermal system, etc. Whatever. So, sort of like the Xbox Elite controllers, the D-pad transforms. You can have different, like, pull bits off, put different things on there. 24 gigs of RAM. Terabyte of storage, auto SR upscaling, which I think was already on the other ones. And then it comes in a bundle with what are they called? X-Real R1 gaming AR glasses that you can plug into the handheld with a USB cable. And then you get a virtual 170-inch screen, I guess. 240 hertz refresh screen. Okay. So there you go. No pricing, no word on availability, but that's coming down the pike. So probably this holiday season, I would think. And then also tied to handheld gaming, Intel this past week announced a new series of processors specifically for this market. Like AMD is now on the second gen of their chips specifically for gaming handhelds. Now they have their first. So they have Arc G3 and Arc G3 Extreme. Obviously x86 based on the same architecture as Panther Lake, which is fantastic. 2 performance cores. I think it's 8 efficient cores, and then 4 low power efficient cores optimized for this, form factor. Obviously, super resolution, multi-frame generation, low latency, all the stuff. So there will be an Acer device. They were first with this one as well, based on this. I don't know if we have I guess possibly as soon as June. That's this month. So there will be multiple devices based on this architecture. So. Yeah,
it's a lot of compute to play with. It's hard to make decisions on which ones to use.
I had a hard time not putting this at the top of the show because it's the most important news of the week. But Activision announced the next Call of Duty game. Modern Warfare. I tried. I could have. I think I could have gotten out of that without laughing, but Leo laughed. So, Modern Warfare 4.
John did. It's my fault.
In the confusing world of Call of Duty, if you know the history, you know that the game that I think exploded Call of Duty with popularity was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which started a trilogy of games. Then there was Call of Duty No Number, Modern Warfare 2, and then Modern Warfare 3. They later remade that series, and now we're doing a 4th game in that series. But this is that, I think I talked about this, like I had read an article where someone's, if you play Call of Duty, you know that the current launcher, which could be 280 gigs of stuff, is the front end for the most recent game, the previous game, and the previous 2 games before that, and then all the sub games like Warzone and Zombies, etc. And it's a freaking mess. But the original remake of Modern Warfare predates that. And if you install that game now, it's on Game Pass again. It's smaller, obviously. It's one game, and the graphics aren't as good. Like it's a different engine or whatever. But it has this kind of gritty, awesome kind of feel to it. And that's what they're doing in this next game. It's, I think, obviously influenced by the latest Battlefield game, which did this as well. Kind of authentic, boots on the ground. Stakes are high, actual fighting kind of stuff. It looks awesome. So I haven't said that about a Call of Duty game since longer ago than I can even remember. It's been a long time. It's coming out in October. It's coming to the Nintendo Switch too as well. So obviously PC, multiple ways, Xbox, latest gen consoles only. It's not doing previous gen now, and PlayStation 5. So it actually...
Very, very nice.
Looks pretty good.
Very, very good. Well, we have completed the base body of work.
The base body of work.
The base has been done, but that means that the pediment needs to now be placed upon the base That pediment,
Are we in
of course.
the liminal period between the normal
We are
notes
in the
and the
liminal
back of the
period.
book?
No.
This is the liminal period in between the base and the pediment. And the pediment will, of course, be the tips, the tricks, the app picks, the runner's radio pick, and then the whiskey pick of the week, the back of the book, in other words.
So we have the impediment, which is me, and then the pediment. Is that correct?
I think you're the Corinthian column that holds the whole damn thing up.
Okay.
That's what I think.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
But let me use this opportunity, this moment in time, this liminal moment in time, to move back into a liminal space. And you see, I am now coming to you from the Club Twit Clubhouse. And this is where, my friends, this is where the good stuff happens. As you know, we are, and I will always be, and I'm committed to a free and open ad-supported podcast network. Independent, not owned by a big company, beholden to none. I really believe strongly, we've done this for 20 years. I've been doing it for 50, in the notion of giving, representing users, not the companies that we cover, but the users. Sure, that gets me banned from events. True, I don't get computers on my doorstep, but you know what? It's worth it because I'm a user, you're a user, and we need to stick together. That's why we created Club Twit, because even though we do have advertising, it does not cover all our costs. And we've tightened the belt as much as we can. We've cut back on shows. We closed our studios. I'm doing it from my house, that kind of thing. But we want to make sure that our contributors get paid, that our staff, we still have 11 people working at Twit, they get paid. The light bill gets paid. The internet bills get paid, all of those things. And advertising only goes about 60 or 70% of the way. That's why we started the club back in the COVID days, because we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could do a network that was supported by its listeners? Even though there's no paywall, I like to do that. Now, we do give you some benefits if you join the club. It's $10 a month. You get ad-free versions of all the shows. I don't know how many we have, 15 shows, something like that. You get access to the Club Twit Discord, which is a great hang, a really nice place to hang out with other smart people. It turns out when people pay $10 a month to be in a Discord server, the quality goes way up. You don't get the spammers, you don't get the jerks, you get smart, interesting people who listen to our content and talking about not just the content, but everything on their mind. And I love that. You also get special programming. For instance, coming Monday, we've got the WWDC keynote. And because Apple doesn't like the fact that we cover their keynotes freely and fairly, whenever we stream our coverage on YouTube, they not only try to take it down, they try to take us down, the whole channel. So we've decided not to put keynotes in the public anymore. You have to see the keynote coverage. Micah and I will be doing that 10 a.m. on Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific, in the Club Twit Discord. We actually give you a private YouTube link as well, so you can watch it on YouTube if you prefer. But it's not open to the public because we don't want Apple to get on our case. So that is something new. Most of the other stuff we do in the Club Twit Discord, the photography show, the travel show, Jeff Atwood's Off by One show, which is going to be great. We're going to do that every month. Stacy's Book Club. Micah has added to Stacy's Book Club. Now, Micah will also do media. So I don't know what the voting, I'll have to look at the poll. We voted on a variety of different media choices and picked one to watch for his next one. That's coming up, Micah's Crafting Corner. A lot of stuff. Our AI user group is Friday. That is a great get-together with people who are actually AI practitioners. I want to rename it I want to call it LEAP, the League of Excellent AI Practitioners. Our next LEAP meeting is this Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. All of this is in the club. We do stream it live, as we do with all our shows, for everybody to watch. I don't like paywalls. I'm not trying to put stuff behind paywalls. I really just would like to ask you if you like what we do and you want us to keep doing it, to show your support by going to twit.tv/clubtwit and joining the club. Simple as that. That's all it is. Thank you And thank you, especially to all our Club Troop members who, in fact, did not see this because it gets cut out of all of the shows because they don't get any ads. Now, I will never cut out Paul Thurrott's tip of the week. Back in the book of time, Paulie, you're on.
So earlier, I mentioned that this is like the year of CLIs. I just got an email while you were talking about Club Twit from Build. It's like following up after day one of Build. There's a Microsoft Build CLI GitHub repository. And if you go to this thing, it's so you can add it as a plugin for GitHub Copilot CLI, right? And then you can go in and say what build sessions are relevant to the project that you're working on or whatever. Like it's like a way to access the content from Build from inside of GitHub.
From a command line. That's
crazy.
Hysterical.
I know.
Do you have to use PowerShell or can you use any terminal?
I assume you can use any terminal, but you would just run the terminal app and it would be PowerShell by default. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
So great. Interesting,
right? So there are lots of CLIs now, right? There's an Android CLI if you want to create like Kotlin, Jetpack, Compose apps from a command line. In the Microsoft space, I mentioned the WinApp CLI that I didn't understand when they announced it in January. And then there's the Microsoft Store CLI, which I didn't understand when they announced that in whatever month, April or whatever that was, because we already have WinGet. And why do we have another thing? But I think these things are all interrelated. And during Build, as I said earlier, they announced something called the Windows Development Skills, which is a plugin for GitHub Copilot, but also you can add it to, I added it to Anthropic Cloud Code, but you could add it to OpenAI Codex, whatever, your choice. And the idea is that you can use this to vibe code a modern WinUI 3 app. So I've done a bunch of this vibe coding stuff recently. After Google I/O, I did a bunch of stuff. I wrote 3 articles about that and probably made 8 or 15 apps. I don't read a lot of apps. So I saw this and I was like, okay, obviously I have to try this. And it is 100% CLI based, right? You add the plugin, you run it. It has to run, probably almost certainly would have to download some prerequisites. In my case, I think I didn't have the WinApp CLI. There's some WinUI 3 templates. There's a developer mode needed to be enabled, which I normally do enable. You have to enable that in Windows if you make a UWP or Windows App SDK app. So it did that stuff. And then it spent about 45 minutes talking to itself. And this was the thing where I was saying, like in the beginning, I wanted to, we were kind of half joking about this in the beginning, but this is when you were talking about YOLO mode. And the reason I didn't just let it do its thing is I actually wanted to see what it was doing until that got so tedious. I finally said, geez, yes, allow all the edits during the session. This is so it's
and you went to YOLO. Yeah.
Yeah. So we all get there is the point. And anyway, 48 minutes into this, it does the AI thing. It's like, oh, all right, so I'm going to run the app. Oh, wait, something didn't work. Okay. Oh, I see what it does that thing. And I know. Yeah. But the thing is, this is now, you got to remember, this is grounded in WinUI 3, Windows App SDK.
It's still pretty magical, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, anyway, it's weird, but it's magical.
I asked it in this case to make, all I wrote, let me find my actual prompt, because it was very simple. I was like, because this is the app I've been making for years. Build me a WinUI 3 app that is identical to Notepad in Windows 11 visually and functionally.
Oh.
Now,
you can vibe code in it.
Yeah, that's what you do with it. Like that's what that is what you do with it. So it's not just for
installing stuff; it's building stuff.
Right. Which is why I had to try it. Took a long time. Yeah. Didn't really cause any problems. I mean, it ran. I loaded the project and made it into Visual Studio. No problem there. Having built this app myself so many times, and then of course doing it in WinUI 3 most recently, I can see some of the things it did that are not correct from a design perspective. Like the menu is above the tabs; it should be the other way around. It's very hard to do, by the way, which was one of the problems I solved. It doesn't have a settings page. The fonts thing is like just a little dialogue, and it doesn't persist settings. I didn't ask it to, right? I mean, I could keep going with it, but I don't really see a point to doing it. The thing is, like, this is the second time.
I thought you were talking about WinGet. This is WinApp.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So this is what fascinates me.
The wrong thing. Sorry.
Back. No, I probably linked to the wrong thing. Back when I before I moved to the Windows App SDK for my app, I was using WPF, and WPF doesn't support a lot of the modern controls and things that are in this thing. So one of the things it didn't support, it was this thing called a content dialog. And if you use Notepad today and you do like find or replace, a content dialog comes up over the editor, and it has all these different options you can do. It's really elegant and looks great. And I couldn't do it in WPF. And I tried to fake it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to come up with a UI that I think looks native and works well. And I came up with a find, and then a find pane, and then a replace pane that would come under that if you did that. That sits between the menu and the edit box, the text box. And I thought it looked great. Like, it worked well. It feels native. It's not the way Notepad does it. It's not a normal way to do this. But then I used like Cloud Code or Cloud, maybe just whatever it was late last year, something like that. And it generated an app that used that UI that I had. And I was like, wait a minute. I invented this UI. Like, I didn't get this from anyone. I made it,
How did you know that?
This app that vibe coded in 48 or 45 minutes, whatever it was, has that UI.
Huh.
The find and replace panes are not identical, but they're what I made. Like, they are the UIs I made. Now, my code base is public. It's in GitHub. I mean, they must have both grabbed, you know what I mean? Like, I guess I'm part of the DNA of this stuff.
Yeah, there's a certain sameness to a lot of the apps. If you have Claude make one app,
yeah,
it's
right. By the way, I understand. I'm just saying that, but this is mine. Like, I made it.
Oh, this isn't something you made with Claude. This is something you wrote yourself.
Well, no, like the original time that I did those find and replace panes, I wrote that.
Oh,
I don't mean to say like I invented
so
it,
but
I did.
It learned from you.
I don't know how, but it did. I mean,
it's on GitHub. Yeah.
Right. I'm just fascinated that it did that. So there are all these things I would do to kind of fix this. I'm not going to, because I already have a more sophisticated version of this app that I made or whatever. But it worked. Like,
isn't it interesting? They really want to enable normal users, it sounds like, to write Windows apps.
Eventually. Like, I don't think most normal users are going to sit down in a command line and figure out all the machinations to do what I did to make this work. I mean, a developer would. But this is the back end to what will be a GUI something that, anyone could absolutely. I mean, this is only a matter of time. And given how quick this stuff goes, I think it's going to be pretty.
And it's not specific to Copilot. It can use Claude or can use.
Yeah, because they all use the same. They all interoperate, right? Like,
it's probably the OpenAI API. That's a standard.
Yeah,
it's like people support.
Right. Yeah, and eventually others will. And you can plug in those three at least. I know that. Yeah, so I just used Anthropic, but I was like, "This okay? This is like so." I've done like an Android app, more than one, but I've done some Android app stuff with Google AI Studio. I've done some what do you call it? PWA or web app type stuff also with Google AI Studio. I've done just the thing where you go into GitHub Copilot inside of Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio or what, Paul? Or like just Anthropic Cloud, like, you just use like, I'm going to write code and it just does it on its, like, I've done all these things, and like, I have to say, like, this stuff has gone from like, it needs some work to like, holy crap. Like, this works pretty, like, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I was talking about this with Gibson yesterday. Mm-hmm. I used to think this was like spicy autocorrect.
Right. No.
I don't understand how it's doing this.
I feel like they buried, they're presenting this as something a human being would use, but the reality is this is really here for the AI agents, right? Like, that's really what it's about.
Yeah, it's a harness. Yeah.
But to me, other than the obvious, it does the thing and it does the work. Like, the big deal to me is when you go into Cloud Code, which in this case, right, from the command line, and then you tell it, we're going to use this thing, which is using WinApp CLI on the back end. So this thing being, I keep forgetting the name of it, the Windows developer skills. What you're doing when you issue that command line is you're saying you are grounded in this. You're not looking at the web. You're not looking anywhere else. This is all of your. So it's like what you did with Lisp. Like, we always use this example. You trained AI. Here's the documentation. It's this finite set of information. Just use this to make an app. And that's what this is doing, but with WinUI 3. And it's, it took a while, but it's pretty good. Like, it's I mean, the app works. Like, it's great. It runs on ARM. It runs on x64. It's fun. Like, it works great. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah.
It's on GitHub at WinApp CLI.
Yep.
And you just point your AI agent at it and say, install this. This is what my favorite thing.
Well, so the thing so what you really need is something called the Windows Developer Skills. So you should look that up on GitHub or wherever.
Okay.
That will install the WinApp CLI as part of its prerequisites. Like, it will do it. It will do that for you.
Nice.
But yeah, it uses that on the back end. And this, to me, this, like, now it's kind of coming together. Like I said, in January, when they announced WinApp CLI, sounds so weird saying it. I didn't understand what the point was. I was like, what is this? Like, and now I'm like, oh no, now I get it. Like, this is all about driving these agents to, get them to do this stuff accurately. It's really cool. And I just mentioned I've written free Markdown editors, and soon we're all going to be doing this. But in the meantime, there are two really, really good cross-platform Markdown editors, in my opinion. One is the one I use mostly, which is Typora, but the other one is IA Writer, and this is my favorite on the Mac. It actually works better on the Mac, I think, than it does on Windows, but it's available on the iPad as well, and the iPhone if you wanted to do that. The problem with this app is that you could only buy it through an app store. So on the Microsoft side, you had to buy it through the Microsoft store, and the Apple side, obviously, buy it through their app store. And I guess for the 6-8 years, whatever it's been, they've been trying to figure out a way to. Actually, it's 16 years, just to sell this thing directly to people. And the idea is that you just sign in with your email account. They'll send you an email. You get a code. You sign it. It's a 2FA thing or whatever, essentially. And there's no like special online account you have to deal with. It's just the thing you use to buy it. And so you can do that now. So if you don't want to go through an app store, you want to buy the Windows or Mac version of IA Writer, which is, I do recommend. It's a great app. You can do it directly from IA now. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. Markdown is the lingua franca of AI too. It's everywhere. Yeah. Yeah.
Between it's like everything's text, it's like Markdown is text, CLI, obviously text mode. Like this is text
is back,
and
baby.
Text is, I keep saying it. I told you about this, like MS-DOS style edit that Microsoft released. It's now just built into Windows. I love this thing.
Lisa
I have it on a right click memo. Like I can bring this thing up from a right click.
Lisa said, I want, because I was showing her my agent. She said, I want that. I said, well, you can't have it because it's command line. You got to do command line. She said, what do you mean command line? I said, what command line? Where you type it? She said, you mean like DOS? I said, yeah. Like DOS. She said, I could do that.
Sufficiently motivated.
Actually,
it's got to be sufficiently motivated.
But the UI for that's going to be voice, right? I mean, like at some point, it's just going to be natural language, and
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's see. That concludes Paul's part of this pediment. His impediment, as we say.
Right. But the part of the foundation that is insecure and will fail you.
But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Mr. Richard Campbell and Runners Radio.
Show I picked up while I was in Toronto at NDC Toronto, talking to my friend Jerry Dixon, who is a Microsoft SQL Server Principal Product Manager. He works specifically in the data side of things. And it was a tool I knew nothing about called Data API Builder. Now, this seems like a dev tool, but it's really not. It's something the DBA wants to roll with, because what it does is it builds abstraction layers over databases. So you struggle with allowing developers to access databases directly, because often they can get into dumb situations that'll seriously impair performance. So having an abstraction layer gives you a little bit of control over what they can do, what governance you have in place, what kind of monitoring you do, and so forth. And this tool, the API builder, literally will expose the database the way you want, as a REST interface or as a GraphQL interface, or even as an MCP server. So you can just make it available to an agent and have it called in directly and do some abstractions and protections that way. So we went a little nuts on this one. It was like huge possibilities. And right away, I was thinking about features of restrictions I'd want to put in place and how governance I'd want to throw in. It's like, if I stick this layer in, is anybody calling it like that? So we really had a lot of fun with it. But it's an interesting thought that DBAs now, with these kinds of tools, you still want to allow the devs some flexibility to do some ad hoc work, that sort of thing, but you don't want them to get into trouble. And so rather than having to write a lot of stored procedures or just say no, here are some tools that make it a heck of a lot easier. So great conversation. Very happy. Yeah.
Jerry Nixon, Run As Radio, episode 1039 at runasradio.com. Now, Whiskey time.
Yeah. This is a fall over from being with my buddy Remy, who now owns the whiskey store in Alkmaar, who handed me what we consider an advanced sample of the old malt casking of a Longmorn 20. And we've never talked about Longmorn before. And I'm just going to cover this right up front by saying, yeah, you ain't going to get one of these. This is literally inside ball about these rare individual casks. There are some regular single malt editions of Longmore, but mostly it's always been used in blending. So let's just talk about Longmore for a minute, and then we'll get with this particular edition. So Longmore is another one of those classic space sides. So this is on the A941 south of Elgin, that's Glenrothes, Bensburn, my beloved Craigalachie Hotel, McAllen, you name it. This is the council region of Moray, which has human habitation going back about 8,000 BC or so. So, better part of 10,000 years. In fact, if you get up to the Elgin Museum, there are all kinds of artifacts from all these different times, from Mesolithic tooling to pots from the Neolithic period to diagrams and glyphs from the Picts and so on. It's amazing. Now, this is not one of the oldest distilleries. This is from 1893, which is the height of the sort of whiskey wave that ran over Scotland after the railways were in and there was a huge surge. And one person behind it was John Duff. And we've talked about Duff before. This was a guy who worked at Glendronach, which is in the Eastern Highlands. We mentioned that. And he built a distillery. He built the Glenlossie distillery in 1876. And after he was done with that, he thought that he would take whiskey around the world. And so he went down to South Africa and failed terribly. And deciding that was a mistake, he went out to the United States and tried there, and that did not go well either at all. And when he got back to Scotland, he rounded up a couple of partners, John Shiraz and George Thompson, and in 1893 they built the Longmore distillery, Longmorn, and does very well. In fact, well enough that within a couple of years he buys out his partners because he thinks it's going to be all the business, and is making enough money and things are so busy that he actually builds another distillery across the highway, derogatorily known as Longmorn 2, but it was actually named Benriach, a better known distillery than Glenmoran. Here, one of the reasons that John Duff was so enthusiastic is that there was this group of blenders, the Pattison brothers, the company's called Pattison Elder & Co., that had been operating from the early 1880s until the 1890s. And they were big on powerful driven marketing about more and more whiskey. And they were big on pitching hard to the distilleries to produce more whiskey at scale that they could do some storage on and make their own blends and so forth. But they were playing fast and loose with the books and kind of overspending. And eventually the bank calls in all the loans in 1898. And ultimately, the Pattison brothers end up convicted of fraud, and the whole house of cards falls in on itself. And suddenly all these distilleries have barrels that were down at Pattison they can't get back and aren't paid for, and have overproduction sitting in warehouses that don't have homes anymore. And so price of whiskey drops way down, and a whole bunch of them go broke. And John Duff was one of them. He ends up having to sell off both the distilleries to James Grant, and that's the Glenlivet guy further down the road there. Creates a new entity called Longmorn Glenlivet Distillery for a number of years. And their function fine like that. Grant had not been part of the Pattison debacle, didn't get over leveraged. Longmorn's famous for another reason. Our friend Masutaka Takasuri, the guy who worked initially with Suntory and then made the Nikkei distillery, worked there in the 1920s as part of his education to take whiskey to Japan. By 1970, they're starting to modernize. They dropped the name Longmorn from the name, just called the Glenlivet Distilleries. Longmorn is not doing a lot of single malts. They're mostly going into various kinds of blends. But 1970 was the very typical time where they switched away from coal heat to steam because it's safer, got rid of floor maltings, that sort of thing, sort of standard modernization. And it was acquired in 1977 by the Seagrams Group, which at that time also owned the Chivas brothers. And Longmorn has always featured significantly in the Chivas blends. And that means it rolls up into Pernod Ricard by 2001. So for the most part, you've never heard of Longmorn because it's just gone into blends. You've likely drank it if you drank any well-known blends, especially Chivas Regal. They did start making some single malt editions in 1993 without a lot of marketing into that. But the independent bottlers have always made big business from them. And so most people keep an eye out for whenever Hunter Liang, like in this edition, but also, pick your bottler. They often make lawnmowers and they are coveted, grabbed up right away, 250 bottles or something like that. The facility itself is large. They produce about 4.5 million liters a year, doing malts from the Mornay region, from Baird. 8.5-ton grist loads is pretty big into 10 stainless steel washbacks of 39,000 liters. They run on 4 sets of stills, 10,000 liters for the wash stills and 7,000 liters for the spirit stills. Do a lot of their own barrel storage there, but because they're part of Pernod Ricard, barrels are distributed all over. Nothing unusual there. And again, not a well-known brand. They are not one of the unbranded, but also not in the Diageo loop. They're in the Pernod Ricard loop. They're part of Chivas. So this particular bottling, and I don't have it with me, it's back home, but I did get a chance to taste it, and it was amazing, comes from Hunter Liang. So this is actually originally, Hunter Liang is one of the sons of Douglas Liang. And Douglas Liang formed a company for doing blending and filling in 1948 and did very, very well. By the 1990s, they were all on this modern single casking approach to whiskey, because people like to have one of 250 bottles, that kind of thing. The two sons, Doug Jr. and Hunter, disagreed on a bunch of things. And so by 2013, they decided to split the company and split up the brands. Doug Jr. kept Old Particular and a couple of other brands, but also is now started to move into distilling, which I believe was their disagreement, that Hunter liked making his single bottlings in his relationship with distilleries and didn't want to get into distilling, where Doug Jr. is moving in that direction. And the main line for Hunter Liang is this old malt cask, of which this is one of the bottles of it. So this is a 20-year-old edition that was distilled in 1996 and bottled in 2017. And they're now looking at doing distributions for it. So for certain whiskey shops, they send out samples, small little 100 ml bottles that you can that allow you to try them out, so that you decide if you're going to stock some of those. So this 260 bottle run, they're going to go there. It's a single cask and very limited production. It was 50% alcohol, but it was a 20-year-old. And I'm usually lean away from those older whiskeys, but this is one of those beautiful, silky caramel Speyside. It's like everything you ever wanted in a whiskey. And the samples were basically for free. I was given one of them, so I didn't ever pay for it. But you can expect, if you could get your hands on one of these bottlings, and there's a few different editions that have come down the line, if you keep your eye out for getting access to Hunter Liang, which is hard to come by out of Scotland, expect to pay about £200. For a bottle like that of a very special edition that you can serve your friends at Christmas and let them know you'll never have this again.
And you can't get it now, though, right? Or can you?
I think, we're just in the advanced sample. They haven't done the release on it. So if you were very keen, you could go looking for it.
Oh, you could get that. Okay, good.
Possibly. But like I said,
it's
not
widely distributed. Is that the old malt cask?
Yeah, the old malt cask is the group, Hunter Liang, that does the various editions. And they bottle from all kinds of distilleries. So you can't just look at old malt cask. You got to specifically go hunting for a Longmorn edition.
Well, this is kind of fun. Look at all this stuff. Is this a subscription?
Absolutely. They're not, because it's so hard to ship, but it's one of those things where you kind of have to pay attention. And your whole thing here is go to your boutique whiskey maker that might be on the Hunter Liang list. Ask about certain editions, see if you can get a few bottles.
How fun is this? Look at all these.
And that's the whole thing about these custom bottlers, right? Is that you get all these interesting things from it. And just like I said, they're rare, they're special, but they're a way to get very unique bottles of whiskey if you want to have something unusual.
So
that being said, I am in Denmark, and today I was handed the bottle of Danish whiskey. No surprise. The good news is I'm staying for another week in Denmark, and so they'll probably see you next week.
They see you coming, don't they, Richard?
They do see me coming, and I'm here to help. The nice thing is I'm here long enough that I can open this bottle and share it with friends and not worry about leaving it behind. We'll be able to finish it, but next week you'll see me in a different location. But I think I'll be over the Scandic at that point, and
will you share this
Danish whiskey.
This Danish whiskey with us next week?
Yeah, I hate to not do a Danish whiskey. We've done one before, right? We have talked about Danish whiskey before, but this is a different one. So I'll leave it till I can finish the research on it. It takes a little time.
Well, bless you. You kept it in under an hour, and I appreciate that. And you think you're going to give me time to do some more work. So thank you for that. We do Windows Weekly. The reason I say that, if you're watching live, is in about 10 minutes, we've got Robert Tursick, who was a former creative director at MTV and is a futurist talking about AI on intelligent machines. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. Stick around if you want to watch that. If you're not watching live, well, you'll find it on the IM feed a little bit later. We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday before Intelligent Machines. We do it at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. You can even watch us live if you want, if you're in the club, of course, in the Club Twit Discord, but also we stream to everyone on YouTube, Twitch, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Kick. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show at twit.tv/WW. We have audio and video there. The video is also on YouTube on the Windows Weekly dedicated channel. Good way to share clips of the show. And actually, Richard's whiskey clips, you don't need to clip those out. Kevin King goes through those. He's a little behind, takes a while. But if you go to somethingweirdfrommycloset.com, you'll find that YouTube playlist with all the more than 100 whiskey picks. 150, and the story of whiskey and all sorts of great stuff. That would be the first 8 episodes are me explaining the Scottish whiskey making process to my friends here, and it runs 2.5 hours. Well, it takes 20 years, so 2.5 hours. That's nothing. Nothing, my friend.
I'm coming quick, yeah.
Paul Thurrott is at thurrott.com. Become a premium member, and you can actually get copies of his books from leanpub.com, and that includes Field Guide to Windows 11, Windows Everywhere, and the latest in de-enchitify Windows, or you can buy them from leanpub.com. Richard Campbell is at runasradio.com. That's where you'll find his shows Run As Radio and .NET Rocks, or DNR, which does not mean do not resuscitate in this case.
For 2,000 episodes, maybe you shouldn't resuscitate.
Yeah, no, it's living. It's alive. Do not pound on its chest. It's fine.
We're not quite dead.
It's just resting.
We're getting better.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Paul. Thanks to all our winners and dozers out there. We'll see you next Wednesday on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.